welcome in. Hopefully everything's good right now. I had to move the studio earlier today. Welcome to the High Noon Report, the High Noon Rant, the High Noon, exercise and futility. We've been doing this now for 2 years. We're in our third year, every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. high noon, except on days like today. Sorry, I had an engagement, an opportunity, really, that came up at the last minute this morning at about 11 o'clock. So I had to go meet with somebody. I had to go meet with, hey, how you been? Look, want to talk to you about a few things. So we got into some stuff, a little bit delayed. Had a nice little lunch. I appreciate your patience. You know this doesn't happen often. And when it does, I certainly do. Thank you for putting up with the schedules. But on a normal day, the show airs at 12 p.m. high noon. We're gonna spread out a little bit. You know what I kind of like about this? You know what I kind of like about this show? So like yesterday, we got done with the show about I don't know what, 2:30, something like that. We ended the show. And then there's like 5 hours until the Ranger game. I was like, what am I going to do with the next 5 hours? So, of course, I washed things in my bathtub because, that's my new thing. I'm really getting into washing clothes by hand. I washed a sweatshirt last night. Right? I know it's sick, right? It's like I won't do laundry the easy way. I can't be compelled to actually put my laundry together and then go and do the laundry with a machine like a modern person. No, I somehow discovered via a YouTube video how you can wash your clothes better by hand. And now I'm doing that. I mean, I don't want to do it for the rest of my life. At some point, the thrill of this discovery is going to wear off and it's just going to be laborious work. So I don't imagine it. But wait, while I'm in this thing, why not wash everything? I have this sweatshirt that I love. It's a baby blue hoodie pullover sweatshirt, not a zip up. It's a pullover. It's an Adidas sweatshirt. It's baby blue and it's got like big and like a weird orange pink colored Adidas across it. I don't even know. I'm not even sure what color it is. It's not pink. It's not orange. I don't know. But I love this. And I haven't worn it in a while because it's getting a little bit long in the tooth. I washed it by hand with shampoo and a new sponge. Yes, it is cleaner than I've ever. I'm like, I can wear that out. It was the kind of thing that I'd wear when I'm cleaning out the garage. But now I'm like, I can wear that out now. Yes, washing by hand. It's my new thing. Okay, so let's get the chat room together. Who do we got in the chat room? I know it's a different time. I was hoping that maybe we could get some new people with a different time to see who we got. Do we have any new people in the chat room? We got Barney. We got Cameron. We got Rainey. We got Leslie C. By the way, let's get this started right now, right? Let's put this up because there was I have created internally some controversy over this next great reveal. And this next great reveal is who is today's executive producer? Because as we know, this show runs for the past 2 years and heading into its third year. We're neck deep. We're not neck deep. We're about ankle deep in our third year. You guys make the show go with your tips and your gratuities and all that. And, just the last couple of weeks, the last week of the month, typically we push really hard and we're pushing really hard this week. Good tippers become the executive producer of the show for the day. Like if you tip yesterday, like the high tip becomes the executive producer of the show. Sometimes it's two people tipping the exact thing. Then we get a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production kind of thing. We get a Carsey Werner. What was it? We get a Burrow. Why can't I think of their names now? You know how it is. Like executive TV shows always have like multiple people. So that's so the big reveal today is because we are pushing and we're getting great tips. And thank you so much, everybody who's tipped. And I'm going to doff my cap to each and every one of you here in a minute. But we've got two people in the chat room who are characters. Okay. So we're going to, who we got? We got Mike D in the chat room. We got a couple of people who are characters. They like to go at each other's throats. You know our Byron and our Adam, right? So Byron and Adam both tipped very good last night. I don't give the number away because that's not cool. And I mean, unless you people can say the number what you tip in the chat room. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to out people because everybody, whether you're tipping $1 or whether you're tipping 50, you're freaking aces in my book because it all goes to the same place and it's all about supporting this. Shit, I would watch this every day and I wouldn't be able to tip. So, I have empathy for my peeps who are out there. So, could we see a Byron and Adam Reyna. That's right. Adam Reyna and Byron both tipped the exact same amount. Are they the executive producers of today's show? No, they're not. Unfortunately, because today's high noon executive producer is going to be the lovely April and Leslie C., ladies and gentlemen. April and Leslie C. They did not tip the exact same amount, but one of the two tipped just a little bit more than the top tip of the Byron and Adam configuration. So, but thank you to Byron and Adam. Look, if we don't get any tips tomorrow, I'll make you the guys. You can have it tomorrow. Or you guys get a lot of shout outs. But everybody knows this show can't exist without Byron and Adam. We also know it can't exist without Leslie and April. So thank you. Hey, I just realized I still got the stupid Halloween design on. I don't want the Halloween design. How do I change that? Ugh. James did this. There we go. James did this last night because it was Halloween. There we go. Now we're back to normal. Thank you so much. Where are we on the tip progress? Where are we on the funding the show for the month of November? Well, we're doing pretty good. Continued thanks goes out to Peter. Peter is doing his Ranger bit. We'll get into that. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate you. Byron and Adam dropped some tips yesterday. Thank you so much to Byron and Adam. You guys, those are two dudes I take for granted. They're just always there. So they're I appreciate them being in the chat room and making the chat room a place where people want to hang, watch the two of them fight. So thank you to those two. Terry Smith. I also need to thank Terry Smith. Terry Smith dropped in the cash yesterday, the Cash App. Thank you so much to Terry. April, Frankie. Also, thank you to Frankie. But our executive producers on today's show are April and Leslie. So thank you so much, ladies. You guys are awesome. All right. Where are we? We made great progress yesterday. You guys, man, thank you so much for yesterday. We started the week out saying that we needed to get to $375 for the week. That's 5 shows. Can this stupid show raise $375 in ad revenue? Funded ad revenue by listeners and viewers. Can it do that? That shouldn't be hard. That's nothing. Person can't live on that. I mean, this is just, paying for the overhead here. So we started out at $375. We're here on a Wednesday show. Here come the hiccups. We're here on a Wednesday show. We're down to $210. Thank you so much with 3 shows left. $210. I think we're going to get there. I really do. Okay, enough about that. Excuse me. Tip the show if you can. Appreciate you. All right, now, because I hate being the evangelist, but that's how we got to do. So I leave this up now for a while. Thank you so much. If you're so inclined, you want to support this kind of talk radio, non-divisive, non-political. We do culture stuff because I love culture stuff. But we try not to be divisive, or I try to be divisive, and then when you people take my lead, I yell at you for it. That's kind of how the dynamic of this show works. Current events, hot topics, headlines, all that stuff every day at noon. We do it in 4 quarters. The first thing we do is we do a segment I call Erstwhile on This Day, where we take a look back at the history of this day. And we examine all the things that have happened, things that have shaped our perception and understanding of what this day might have for us in the coming hours. That's the idea with Erstwhile on This Day. Quarter 2, birthdays. We talk about people born on this day. We look at what they've done. We decide, are they cool or not? That's kind of that segment. Then we go to the people who died. Quarter 3. People who died on this day. We look at the people who have passed on this very day, and we look at their life's resume, and we decide, based on our own understanding of the criteria, are they in heaven or hell? That's the question we ask in quarter 3. Quarter 1, erstwhile on this day. Quarter 2, birthdays. Quarter 3, these are the people who died. Are we sending them to heaven or hell? And then quarter 4, of course, the show. Headlines, hot topics, current events, and all of that stuff. How was Halloween last night? You guys have fun? We did a Radio Misfits show. That's the 9:00 stream that we do. Myself and James Parker. This one's just me, but that one's me and him. The 9:00 stream with James Parker we did last night. We did it last night. We're not doing them because of Ranger games, right? Ranger World Series games. I want to watch the Rangers win the World Series. More on that coming up. And yes, that's how I'm manifesting it. I'm only saying it that way. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to watch the Rangers win the World Series tonight. And you people need to do that too. Fucking cowards. What? But you're going to jinx it. What are you, a fucking witch? What is this, Salem? You can't jinx it. If magic is in the air, it's in the air. All you can do is go with it. Stop it. Anyway, moving on. They're going to win the World Series tonight. So we did a show, Radio Misfit show last night. We talked a little bit about Halloween. I didn't get one visitor because I'm back here in the back house at the 1%er compound. So I didn't get many visitors. Wasn't really like Halloween. I don't even have any candy. I have no candy. Oh, I should go to a store, right? Isn't today the day you go to CVS and you get like a 10-pound bag of Snickers for 40 cents? Isn't that like today? Isn't that? All right, yeah. All right, I got to go get some candy. I'm going to go get some dollar. Is it better to go to the dollar? Nah, the dollar store is going to be garbage candy. You go to the real stores today because they bought too much candy. They always do. And now it's going to be liquidated. Shit, I should have gone. I should have stopped at CV. I should be snacking on discount Halloween candy corn. You know what the price of candy corn is today? In the gutter. I happen to love candy corn. All right, what else? As far as a Radio Misfit show tonight, I don't know. Rangers are going to win the World Series tonight. Kind of want to be streaming for it. See, yesterday we did a Radio Misfit show because at like 8 o'clock it was 10-0. It was 10-0, and I'm like, all right, we might as well do a stream tonight because I'll put the game on, and what could go wrong? Well, it got scary, didn't it? It did. We shut off the damn show. We end the show at 10 o'clock, and I go back to watching my Ranger game. And all of a sudden, it's 10-7 or 11-7. I'm like, what is going? So, yeah, that's baseball, man. Baseball is fun. Right when you start to fall asleep because it's so goddamn boring, it starts to not get boring again. And you're like, this is awesome. And that's the magic of baseball. So we got that tonight. All right, let's get started with the show. What do you say? Let's let me get all my right stuff properly here. Okay, let's get started with today's show. I can't believe I did that. I mislabeled the show in my file. Time out. I got to fix this. Otherwise, I'll never find this show. I mean, I'll never need to find the show. I'll never go back and look for it. But right now in this moment, I have this fantasy that, oh, yes, I'll compile all the shows. I'll never go back and look at this again. But in the moment, it seems important to label it correctly. High Noon Rant. This was not a Misfit show, so let's label it correctly. Welcome to the High Noon Rant for the first day of November, a fresh and spanking clean new month, year of our Lord 2023. There are only 2 months left. That's right. On this day, no, wait, we'll do this. November 1st is the 305th day of the year. We always do this every day. How many days of the year there are? 365. It's the 305th day of the year. How many days left? Math, people? 60. That's right. Congratulations. 60 days left until New Year's. Let's do erstwhile on this day. This is where we take a look back at the events that have shaped this day and all the things that, on this day in 1604, you want to talk about something that has shaped our modern world. I'll give you examples, too. You think I'm crazy? Erstwhile, on this day in 1604, William Shakespeare's tragedy Othello is performed for the very first time at the Whitehall Palace in London. Othello debuts on this day in 1604. Shakespeare. On this day in 1611, Shakespeare's play The Tempest is performed for the very first time at Whitehall Palace in London. That's right, 2 of Shakespeare's 37 plays, 37, I believe. The Magic 37, that's what they are. William Shakespeare wrote 37 plays in his lifetime. 2 of them debuted on this day. So obviously he had a deadline. Like he's like, the 1st of November I'll debut for the Christmas season. The people will come out in their seasonal best and they'll see my plays. That's probably what he was thinking. So that's why 2 of his big plays debuted on the exact same day. 11 years apart, or how many years apart? 7 years apart. All right, so here we've got Othello and The Tempest. Now, I don't know, like we all are experts in Shakespeare, and we don't know it. We don't know it because we just don't have the connective tissue to go, oh, I do know Shakespeare, don't I? Yeah, you do. You know Shakespeare. All 37 of his plays. William Shakespeare's 37 plays have been remade, reinterpreted, readapted, updated, whatever, millions and millions of times on television, in movies. Every single plot line that William Shakespeare invented are considered the basis for modern storytelling. Just about every story has some shred of connection to what Shakespeare came up with in his mind. That's why people are like, I don't get why Shakespeare's a genius. Most people, I read a Shakespeare play, I got 2 pages in and I couldn't understand it. Yeah, because that's the way they talked back then. And when a Shakespeare play is performed in the way Shakespeare wrote it, it sucks. I'm sorry, it sucks. And I love Shakespeare. I got introduced to Shakespeare my freshman year in high school. Dude who was the speech teacher also had a Shakespeare fetish. So he knew that people would take the speech class, so he would interject a whole bunch of Shakespeare stuff into that class, hoping that we would all take his Shakespeare elective. Well, guess what sucker did? This one, because I was hooked. I loved storytelling. I loved the idea of the origins of storytelling and how Shakespeare, for the modern world, he's not the first storyteller. I mean, come on, there's a dude named Homer out there, right? I mean, he's not the first, but for the modern world, the way we interact as human beings, we don't act the way the ancients did, okay? So sort of a modern, his storylines, his plot lines, his dilemmas, all of those things can be updated easily. You think I'm crazy? All right, let's go through a list of things that are Shakespeare, that people don't even know are Shakespeare. I love this. I do this a lot. Let's start with Hitchcock. Let's go all the way back to the North by Northwest. The great North by Northwest. Cary Grant. That's Hamlet. North by Northwest is Hamlet. Mean Girls. Okay, let's bring it up to modern days. We all like Mean Girls, right? Mean Girls is the story of Julius Caesar. That is Shakespeare's Julius Caesar set in a high school. That's what Mean Girls is. You know Shakespeare stories. You just don't know you know. She's the man. Remember, She's the Man? She's the Man. Screw it. Victor, Victoria. Any movie where a woman has had to masquerade as a man that's the 12th night. Okay. That's Shakespeare's The 12th Night. He did it first. All of these things that have been done since. And by the way, this isn't just me outing anybody. No, these are all known. The writers of these things. Look at the Wikipedia pages of these things. They say inspired and derived from Shakespeare. It's just updated because they're great stories. 10 Things I Hate About You. Everybody loves 10 Things I Hate About You. That's a great movie. That's Taming of the Shrew. That's Taming of the Shrew. Come on, man. That's what's another good one? Keanu Reeves. Remember Gus Van Sant? My Own Private Idaho. Remember that? It's Henry V. My Own Private Idaho is Henry V. Gus Van Sant did Henry V, and he said it with Keanu Reeves in My Own Private Idaho. Strange Brew. Here's one that I love. Strange Brew. Okay. Bob and Doug McKenzie. Strange Brew. The film that they made from that comedy sketch. Strange Brew is Hamlet. Yes, it's done in a very strange way, but Strange Brew is the story of Hamlet. No, it's no, now you're getting crazy. Oh, yeah, really? What was the name of the brewery? Remember the brewery owner? Remember the Strange Brew's plotline? The brewery owner died suddenly, the king. The brewery owner dies suddenly, the king. The heir of Hamlet, the daughter. Remember the girl, the heir apparent to running the brewery, the daughter. Oh, Pugs, that's all pretty sketchy. I mean, that could be anything. I can see why you would make the Hamlet comparison, but come on, man, you're really reaching. Really? The name of the brewery, the name of the beer in Strange Brew was Elsinore. Hamlet lived at Elsinore Castle, ladies and gentlemen. Come on! Shakespeare is everywhere. Shakespeare's everywhere. Lion King. Lion King is Hamlet. It's Hamlet. Okay, so I'm out of movies. There's a shit tons of. How about TV shows? You want to go to TV shows that are Hamlet that you love that you didn't know were Hamlet? First of all, I need to break something to you. Walter White is Macbeth. Walter White is Macbeth. Ask Bryan Cranston. That's what drew him to the role. Walter White is Macbeth. Sons of Anarchy. You like Sons of Anarchy? That's Hamlet. That's not even like, oh, that's a reach. No, that is the story of Hamlet on motorcycles. That's what Sons of Anarchy is. And then you know, King Lear. King Lear's been done a bunch of times, popularly recently. King Lear, Shakespeare's King Lear is Succession. Shakespeare's King Lear is Empire. Empire and Succession have the exact same storyline, the exact same plot line, the exact same dilemma. It's King Lear. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Shakespeare Day. We all know Shakespeare. We just don't know we have the connective tissue there. I'll also say this about Shakespeare. One of the real reasons that I got into Shakespeare at like 14, 15 years old as a student in high school was because it was presented to me originally in modern English vernacular. Meaning it wasn't, he doth sow it unto thee. It wasn't that. It was all modern language interpretations of Shakespeare. And it just made it connect with me so much easier. And I was like, okay, all right. On this day, Shakespeare, November 1st, traditionally in 1604 and again in 1611 when he debuted two of his best plays. On this day in 1800s, not 1800s, that's a wide stretch of things. On this day in the year 1800, John Adams becomes the very first president to actually live in the executive mansion, later to be named the White House. On this day in 1805, Napoleon Bonaparte invades Austria during the War of the Third Coalition. And I'm getting details on that one, but I know that that's kind of a big thing in history. On this day in 1861, during the American Civil War, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln appoints George B. McClellan as the commander of the Union Army, replacing Winfield Scott. Winfield Scott was a complete idiot. Winfield Scott should never have been making any. You know who? McClellan got the job because Scott was basically like almost like British peerage. Like he wasn't like a real. He was a rich kid. He was a rich kid who got elevated and moved through the system. And then they bring in McClellan, and McClellan was the guy who said, "Hey, Abe, we got this drunk ass general who is just kicking ass along the Mississippi. Maybe we should bring him east and let him command some." And that was America's greatest general, Ulysses S. Grant, who finally they were like, "Well, he's drunk, but he's good." And they were like, "It's a war. I don't care if he's sober or drunk. If he wins, let's go with it." It was on this day that McClellan replaced that complete moron, Winfield Scott. On this day in 1894, Buffalo Bill, 15 of his Native Americans, and Annie Oakley were filmed by Thomas Edison in his Black Marina studios in West Orange, New Jersey. Buffalo Bill Cody. I've learned quite a bit about Buffalo Bill Cody recently because I'm rewatching Deadwood, which tells you the story of Wild Bill Hickok. And I've always been like, okay, so they're two separate people. Wild Bill Hickok and Buffalo Bill Cody are two separate people. So what is the distinction made between the two of them? Not much. It's not much. They're kind of like the same dude. Buffalo Bill Cody and Wild Bill Hickok actually knew each other. Wild Bill Hickok's a few years older. Buffalo Bill Cody and Wild Bill Hickok first met as scouts during the early days of the Pony Express. Buffalo Bill was a 12-year-old when he first met Wild Bill Hickok, who was a man in his 20s. Here was what Buffalo Bill was. Buffalo Bill was a legit cowboy for a period of time, but then he realized very early on that, hey man, people in the East, they're kind of fascinated by this whole cowboy thing. So he became the representative cowboy in the East. Like Buffalo Bill would go to like the East Coast and do theaters and tell you all about the Wild West and Cheyenne, that kind of stuff. And he became a big celebrity of the time. So when we think of like Wild Bill Hickok was like a real gunfighter, and he was kind of real. He had a real edge to him. Like there was like Wild Bill was a storyteller, certainly, and he also became an actor. He actually started working for Buffalo Bill in Buffalo Bill's big touring show. But Wild Bill was more legit than Buffalo Bill, I think. I think Buffalo Bill very early on went, I want to be an actor. And, did the whole, I'm going to pretend to be a cowboy for fancy people in New York. And that's what he did. And then Wild Bill was like, yeah, I need to make some money. I'm going to go to New York, live in a fancy hotel, and get paid to tell stories on stage to rich white people. And that's basically it. On this day, anyway, if you ever seen the famous picture of Buffalo Bill, it's like one of the only ones. It was taken on this day. I could probably show it, but we're moving on. On this day in 1896, a picture showing the bear. Oh, on this day in 1896, National Geographic showed tribal women's bare breasts for the very first time. That was all we had. That was all we had in the 70s as a kid. You wanted to see boobs, you got to go to the school library and pull out a National Geographic and look at some tribal boobs. That was it. We didn't have Pornhub on the phone that mom gave us. I mean, we didn't. Kids are walking around with like porn access 24/7, and we're in the library looking at tribal women boobs from National Geographic. First time that happened on this day, 1896. On this day in 1938, Seabiscuit defeats War Admiral in an upset victory during a match race deemed the match of the century. 1938, horse racing. That was it, man. That was a big thing in 1938. Horse racing. You'd go down to the park. You'd You'd smoke a cigarette while eating a hamburger sandwich. Maybe drink a cup of coffee. That was a big thing. Hamburger sandwiches, a cigarette, and a cup of coffee. That was how you were living back then. Think about that. And then they'd watch horse racing. They'd watch dudes ride horses. They'd watch two people fight in a ring, and baseball. Those were like the three things. So yeah, on this day when War Admiral and Seabiscuit raced, probably a big day. Would have been pay-per-view in this day and age. On this day in 1949, all 55, On this day in 1949, all 55 people on board Eastern Airlines Flight 537 are killed when the Douglas DC-4 operating the flight collides in midair with a Bolivian Air Force jet. Now, again, this is 1949, and I'm mentioning this one because it proves my point that they didn't have shit worked out in 1949. Planes were crashing into each other. Do you know how big the sky is? You know how big the sky is, and you know how high they fly up there. So there's at least, let's say, 30,000 feet from, top of the sky where they're flying to the ground. So that's 30,000 feet of room up and down. And then horizontally, you got the entire sky. Planes would crash. They don't do that. I mean, they do it at air shows, like when they're doing stupid shit. But in real life, like, you're not going to fly to Detroit and get hit by a plane at 30,000 feet flying to Tampa. It's not going to happen. But it did back then, and that's why there were so many plane crashes back in the day. They didn't have that shit figured out. They rushed it. They're like, yeah, you can now get to San Francisco in 5 hours. And people were like, let's just do it. And like, we're not sure it's safe yet. And they're like, well, just sell the tickets anyway. So there was a good 50 years of air travel here in this country where they were just winging it. And they were like, well, we'll see what happens. That's why planes used to crash all the time. We rushed it, and we still do it. Whether it's the iPhone. Remember the first iPhones? My iPhone exploded. Yeah, it's because they weren't ready. They didn't know what they were. Yeah, they didn't know how hot those batteries were going to get. But you idiots, you were early adopters. Aren't you cool? On this day in 1968, the Motion Picture Association of America's film rating system is officially introduced. The first film ratings were G, M, R, and X. On this day, 1968. This is why we don't know what Betty Davis tits look like. Think about it. Think about 1968. That's when we started seeing boobs. Why? Because now there was a rating system. Before, you're making a movie in 1945. There wasn't a desire to depict the intimacy and the reality that came later in cinema. A passionate lovemaking scene. That there was no room for that in a George Cukor film. They weren't doing that stuff. People didn't have sex in public, and that's how movies were seen, as public. So there was no nudity. There was no swearing. Everybody behaved like their grandma was in the room, and that's how movies were made. And they worked around it. There are still great movies. There are incredible movies from that time period that don't rely on any kind of vulgarity or any kind of sexuality or anything like that. But then movies like young filmmakers were like, I want to show a man's penis or whatever, because that was actually the first thing. People don't know this. The first nudity on screen in I think it was America, was a man's penis. And it was in some hippie film from 1966 or something like that. And so we had a rating system. And once there was a rating system, that said, yeah, it's okay for you to show nudity. Now, it wasn't before. It would have been very scandalous. And there were a couple of instances where, it's like a European film, like a woman would appear nude in 1955 and the scandal, banned from, theaters in America and all that kind of stuff. But then on this day in 1968, we finally had a rating system, which allowed for more expression, which allowed for creators to actually do stuff, and allowed for us to know what famous actress' boobs look like. Because now there isn't a famous actress out there whose boobs I don't know what they look like. I know what Helen Mirren's boobs look like, and they're fantastic. And Helen Mirren's 80. So, going back, and she would have started being an actress around 68 when this rating system came in. Do we know what Julia Roberts' boobs look like? Do we have Julia? I mean, I'm sure somewhere out there, there's Google Julia Roberts' boobs, and they're out there. But I don't think. Do we know Julia Roberts? I don't think we know her boobs. Has Michelle Pfeiffer ever done a nude scene? I don't think she has. I'm trying to think of women. Anyway, moving on. On this day in 1968, the motion picture film rating system comes into effect. On this day in 1982, Honda becomes the first Asian automobile company to produce cars in the United States with the opening of its factory in Marysville, Ohio. A Honda Accord is the very first car produced there. That was in 1982. People don't understand what being old is. Because I'm old. I remember in America before imports. I remember America when you saw a car on the road that wasn't a GM, a Chrysler, or a Ford. When you saw a car on the road that wasn't one of those, you were like, oh, look at that. I mean, sure, there were 1977, maybe you'd see one or two Mercedes-Benz a week, right? If you were out driving around a week. Ooh, look at that. It's a Mercedes-Benz. I mean, there was no such thing as supercars. 1978, there wasn't anybody driving a Ferrari. Ferraris were driven by people on TV, not people in actual real life. It was all Fords. It was all GMs. I mean, every car everybody in my family ever owned the first 12, 15 years of my life. They were all, and then it became, I wouldn't buy one of them Japanese pieces of shit. Do you remember that for 10 years? Remember that programming? Remember that? Oh my God, that was some hardcore American 80s programming. The narrative that was forced on all of us was the Japanese cars were garbage. Really? You're not going to buy a Ford? You're going to buy one of them Hondas? It's 1982. Yeah, that ain't 1982 Honda. It's probably still on the freaking road. That's the truth. The truth is that Japanese automobiles were far superior to American automobiles, and the price points were commensurate and in many cases lower. And God help the American auto industry when Hyundai entered the scene. Hyundai started making cars as quality as Toyota and Honda, and they were cheaper than the cheapest Chevy. Get out of town. I mean, I remember that world. I remember the world when Japanese cars first came in. People are like, oh, you got one of them Jap cars. Hope you got enough money for mechanics. Yeah, that car was never in the shop. Never. Because Hondas and Toyotas and Nissans run for 200,000 miles easily if you get them changed and fixed and all that kind of stuff. You know what? Don't do that. Chevy 60,000. I need a new engine. The drivetrain broke on my 4-year-old Ford. Used to happen all the time. American cars were garbage. Now American cars are better now. But there was a period of time when American cars first got blindsided by Japanese cars. And it was on this day in 82 when Honda first started rolling them out of there in Ohio. It was on this day in 1982 when American automakers, well, again, first they put the false narrative out there that programmed us all to thinking that Japanese cars were garbage. That was first. And then they went, okay, that didn't work because their cars actually aren't garbage. Then American automakers had to start making good cars again. This didn't happen until the early 2000s. American cars were garbage straight up until about 2005, 2010, when the entire American auto industry almost bellied up because of making garbage cars that weren't cheap. Oh my God. Dude, if you had a 1999 Ford Focus, I feel for you. I mean, geez, I drove a 1997 Chevy Cavalier, so I know the problems. What is this like gauges to things that I didn't even know existed would suddenly illuminate on the dashboard. What is that? What is that icon? I don't even know what that represents. It was terrible. Japanese cars were superior. Still are. I don't know if they still are, because let me tell you something. I got a 2018 Chevy Malibu that is a rolling computer. It's basically a rolling computer. You know, all these new cars are just computers. But I'm old because I remember when cars didn't used to be rolling computers. This Chevy Malibu that I have 2018 is a freaking war horse. It has been between Chicago and Texas and multiple times, and it's got I take care of it and it's got low miles, but this is not a Chevy. This Chevy Malibu is not a 1990s Chevy Malibu, or God forbid a 1980s one. So American automakers have started to make some quality again. They've gotten back to it, if you will. But yeah, I was like, Japanese cars are garbage. Japanese cars are garbage, man. Oh, you getting a Toyota? All right, let me know when you want to buy a real car. Okay, thanks, Uncle Frank, the Chrysler dealer. How's that? How are those Dodge Diplomats selling for you? The arrogance. They're all garbage. No, they're not. No, they are really not garbage. Barty says, remember the Caprice? Yeah, I remember the Caprice. That was a lowballed. Here's the story of the Chevy Caprice. No, it's not the Caprice. I think it's the Diplomat. It's the Dodge Diplomat. Yeah. Okay, so the story of the Dodge Diplomat was that, Chrysler didn't give a fuck. It just come out of bankruptcy, the whole Lee Iacocca thing. The K car was a big push. It didn't do great because it was ugly. It was like the American Yugo. The K car was supposed to, save Chrysler. So Dodge came out with a Diplomat, which was their new car, because apparently they had promised a new car, but they didn't have the money to spend it on, cool design or anything. So they made a Diplomat, and it was really just a box. It was just a stupid car, and nobody wanted it. It looked old. It looked uninspired. It was just a stupid car. I think when it was first reviewed by the auto industry, they called the Diplomat one of the most uninspired vehicles ever to roll out of Detroit. And that kind of hurts. Nobody's going to want to buy a car called by Motor Trend the most uninspired car. So you know what they did? This was brilliant. Before they rolled it out to the general public, knowing that it was going to be a huge flop on the commercial market, the people at Dodge contacted all the police departments in America and said, we're just going to give you really good deals on Diplomats. And that's why for like 10 years, every police car in America was a Dodge Diplomat, because that's how Chrysler saved themselves from tanking with this awful car. They just sold it to police departments and let the taxpayers pay for it. On this day in 1982 was when the first Honda rolls off. Okay, that's going to do it for Erstwhile on this day. Let's move into birthdays. Buona. They say it's their birthday. Talk about people born on this day. Let's look at what they've accomplished and died. They're cool or not. Born on this day in 1942, it's a happy swinging birthday to Larry Flynt, pornographer extraordinaire. Larry Flynt, Hustler magazine, born on this day in 1942. I had occasion to meet Larry Flynt once. He was a guest on the Kevin Matthews radio show, a morning show in Chicago that I was on. I was a producer, and Larry Flynt was coming in. I don't know. I think he had opened a Hustler Club or something like that. It's a Hustler bookstore or something. So he was in Chicago promoting it, and he was a guest. He was a guest on our morning show, and we were very excited because this is quite an interesting man. You get to sit down and talk to Larry Flynt. I got questions. I want to know what it was like. Larry Flynt's a complicated guy. He is certainly one of the major First Amendment advocates of the past 100 years of American culture, media, whatever you want to call it. He did the really bad stuff and made all of the really bad stuff have precedent in courtrooms and all of that shit, So he did it. Now, he did gross stuff. Larry Flynt's kind of a gross dude, but whatever. Whatever, he was there, and he fought a lot of the battles so that a lot of other people didn't have to fight him. And that's what Larry Flynt's contribution to culture is, and that is a great one. He really did. The world was very uptight. Do you know okay, so here, I learned this not too recently while watching a documentary about the history of Bob Guccione, who's Penthouse. So it went from Playboy was showing topless women. Playboy was showing boobs. Oh my God. Then Bob Guccione went, hey man, Playboy's making a lot of money showing boobs. What if we show bush as well as boobs? So Penthouse came along. Penthouse was the British Playboy. Penthouse was a British magazine. People don't know that. Penthouse came from, I just did a Trump thing. You know when Trump says something that he just learned that he can't believe that anybody else would know because he didn't know it, and he says, people don't know this. That's an ego thing, and I just did it. People probably know Penthouse was a British magazine, but I didn't, and I felt like I was lacking knowledge there. So to cover for my ego, I said nobody knows it. No, but people probably know that. So Penthouse did the bush. Penthouse was like, we're going to show bush. Playboy showing boobs. We're going to show boobs and bush. So they upped the ante a little bit. Then Larry Flynt came along, and he's like, we're going to have them spread them. So Larry went like, ladies, we're showing boobs, bush, and how about you spread them legs? That was Larry Flynt's whole thing. He's an interesting guy. He came rolling in. So the knock comes at the side door. I have to wait for him. The big guests come through the side door at the radio station. I have to come through the front because, there might be people waiting for him. So Larry Flynt, we afforded him, he come to the side door. So get the knock at the side door. The service elevator comes up. I hear it open. Bing. And then I hear people moving out. I'm like, oh, they're here. So I open the door, and there's Larry Flynt in all of his glory in a gold-plated wheelchair. His wheelchair was solid gold. Well, they said it was solid gold. I go, that's a hell of a wheelchair. He goes, solid gold. He had a stroke, so he couldn't talk. And I'm like, man. And I believe I said something because I'm a producer and you want your guests to feel. I think I said something corny like it's good to be king or whatever. Anyway, Larry Flint, born on this day in 1942, born on this day in 1944. Another one of my favorite people, Kinky Friedman, Texas legend. Born and raised in Chicago, I'll have you know. But Kinky Friedman got his ass down here to Texas as soon as he could. Kinky Friedman and the Texas Jew Boys is a great satirical country band out of the Austin area. They were big in the 70s. And Kinky Friedman is a sort of a Mark Twain type. He's like a modern day more. He's a storyteller. He's a raconteur. He's a bon vivant. He's all of these things. Fascinating guy, really interesting man. Kinky Friedman, born on this day in 1944. Ran for governor. He always runs for governor. He's like, I'm going to run for. He is really smart. Like, I don't know. He's really smart and he's really funny. And anyone who spends any time with him goes, this is like one of the coolest people on the planet. So I can understand why. He got 12% of the vote. I wasn't eligible to vote. I would have voted for Kinky Friedman. Why? Because from what I know about him, give him all the power. I trust him. He seems like a good dude. He seems totally like, everything that he's done in his entire career seems to err on the side of the Angels. So it's like, whatever, give him power. Certainly trust him more than this Greg Abbott guy. Kinky Friedman, born on this day in 1944. Born on this day in 1947, the late, great Jim Steinman. Who's Jim Steinman? Dude wrote like 4 songs. I don't like Jim Steinman's songs. I don't like them. I think he's like the worst, actually, if I'm being honest. Okay, so it's his birthday and he died recently. This is my way of going, oh God, I think this guy is so terrible at what he does, but he's wildly successful and music is subjective. So whatever, but Jim Steinman was born on this day in 1947. Who is Jim Steinman? Jim Steinman's a songwriter. He wrote some of the biggest, most over-the-top, pompous rock songs of all time, and he did them for Meatloaf. Yeah, he was Meatloaf's writer. He wrote all of the big Meatloaf songs, so whether it's, Bad Out of Hell, 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad is a good song, because 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That's not a bad song. Okay, so it says here that he also did another one that's not a bad song. Well, okay, so here are his songs. Are you ready? Here are the Jim Steinman songs. He wrote the entire Bad Out of Hell album. Okay, one of the best-selling albums in history. He also wrote and produced Bad Out of Hell 2, Back into Hell, which had a monster. I don't remember what it was. We'll get to it in a second. But you get an idea of how Jim Steinman wrote. Everything is big and theatrical. I wish I was on Broadway, but I'm a rock star instead. He's that guy. And that doesn't do it for me with rock. And it's like, although 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Here are some of the other songs that Jim Steinman wrote. And maybe you can see why I think he's the worst. Although I'm going to start out with one that I like. Oh my God. And I like the second one. Oh no. Okay, so here's the problem with Jim Steinman songs. I like all of these songs and publicly I just think they're cheesy and I roll my eyes. Oh, what are they called? Guilty pleasures? Oh, is that what we've stumbled onto? Is Jim Steinman a guilt? Am I learning right now that Jim Steinman, because here are the songs he wrote. Total Eclipse of the Heart. Turn around, bright eyes. He wrote that. Total Eclipse of the Heart's a good song. It is. If Total Eclipse of the Heart comes on the radio or whatever we're listening to, and I'm in the car with my 14-year-old son, I will crank it and sing every word to him. So it can't be a bad song. I don't know if I do it on a date. Like if I was on a first date with a girl and Total Eclipse of the Heart came on, I'd probably be like, yeah, that's lame, right? That's totally lame. We don't need that lame stuff. But guilty pleasure. He also wrote a bunch of songs for Air Supply. Oh yeah, he wrote some of Air Supply's biggest hits. Making love out of nothing at all. Making love. That's Jim Steinman. Like it's all a Broadway play, right? What else? Oh God, and then of course, I would do anything for love. Oh God, can we just move on with this guy? What else did he do? Celine Dion covered It's All Coming Back to Me Now, which was originally released by Steinman on the okay, so that song, It's All Coming Back to Me Now by Celine Dion, like one of her biggest hits. He wrote that. Okay, we're moving on. We ain't putting them in heaven or hell, but you see what I mean? Meatloaf, man. like Like 2 out of 3 ain't bad. It's a good song. It's a good song. That's a cool song. Like if you just listen, that's a good song. Everything else is just lame. Like that Paradise by the Dashboard Lights. Man, I don't want to go to a Broadway musical. I thought I was going to a rock concert. What the hell is going on here? Ugh. All right, moving on. Jim Steinman, born on this day in 1947. Born on this day in 1957, Lyle Lovett. I said earlier, I don't think we've ever seen Julia Roberts' tits. I bet you Lyle Lovett has. He was married to her for like a hot night. Remember when that happened? Screw you, America. Do you remember when that happened? Julia Roberts, they hooks up with Lyle Lovett. They have a really great like date or whatever. And they're like, let's just get married. Let's just be spontaneous. And they get married. And then everyone in the country was like, he's so ugly. Shut up. Dude, shut up. What is she doing with Lyle Lovett? He's so ugly. Oh, stop it. You know what he is? He's probably badass. And guess what? Women like badass. Women like cool as fuck. And I bet you that's what Lyle Lovett was. So what? He looks like Abe Lincoln. You know, he does. He looks like Abe Lincoln. Happy birthday to you, Lyle Lovett, born on this day in 1957. Born on this day in 1960, Tim Cook, American businessman and engineer. He is the current CEO of Apple. He's Steve Jobs 2.0. Born on this day in 1962, how about Anthony Kiedis, American singer-songwriter, lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. My partner Kelly has a, 30-plus year fight going with Anthony Kiedis that I don't think Anthony Kiedis knows he's involved in. It had to do with a situation concerning my partner Kelly, Magic Johnson, and Anthony Kiedis, and Las Vegas. That's all I know. It was Las Vegas. People got shoved into each other, and Magic Johnson and Anthony Kiedis and Las Vegas and Kelly Moore were involved. I don't know. She's told the story a million times, and I'm like, yeah, you're in a fight with Anthony Kiedis, and then she tells the story, and I go on my phone and start looking. That's kind of how we did it. Anthony Kiedis, born on this day in 1962. Born on this day in 1972, Jenny McCarthy, South Side. She's not the best looking girl from the South Side of Chicago, but she's certainly up there. Like if we were going to do a South Side of Chicago hot chicks, Mount Rushmore, I think I'd put Jenny McCarthy on there. I can tell you this about Jenny McCarthy. I met Jenny McCarthy like the day or the week that she was announced as Playmate of the Year. So like I met Jenny McCarthy the day she became famous, because she wasn't famous before that. She was just some chick who was a waitress on the South Side of Chicago. And now suddenly she's Playmate of the Year. So, Playboy headquartered in Chicago. The Playboy building was right across the street from our radio station. So every year, Playboy would debut their Playmate of the Year on our radio show, on our morning show. And it was that year that Jenny McCarthy, and this was a special one because Jenny McCarthy, hometown girl, Playboy, hometown Chicago company, Hugh Hefner, iconic Chicago and that whole thing, this is big. Look at the symmetry. Let's debut it on the morning show. So I was the guy who got to, you wake up in the morning and you go to the radio show, and when you're an intern or a producer or whatever, you sit there and you sit in the office and you wait for your instructions from the executive producer. I'll never forget. It's like, it was Jelly. Jelly, I remember who said it to me. Jelly Silkowski, who was like the everything girl on this morning show. Jelly turned to me and she goes, Pugs, I'm going to put you in charge of Jenny McCarthy and the whole Playmate of the Year thing. I remember sitting there on the couch going, well, my day just got really awesome because I was like 22. I'm like, really? So you're going to does this entail me hanging out with the new Playmate of the Year in the green room for like 40 minutes before and making sure she has everything she needs? And then, Jelly's like looking, at her paper. She's like, yeah, I need you to just stick with her. Don't go. So that was me for like a whole hour and a half. Jenny McCarthy had just become famous moments earlier when she was named Playmate of the Year. She made her debut on our show. She was nice. We talked about, I didn't know her. She was from my neighborhood, went to Mother Macaulay High School. We talked about that. In the coming years, the bar I hung out at, Riley's Daughter, which is, a great legendary Southside Irish bar. Riley's Daughter, which was my bar. Her sister was like our bartender there for years. And you'd walk in there and be like, who's that bartender? And it's like, yeah, she's hot, ain't she? Yeah, she's pretty hot. She's Jenny McCarthy's little sister. And it'd be like, oh my God, happy birthday, Jenny McCarthy. She's now happily married to a lesser Wahlberg, but okay. All right, that's going to do it for all the birthdays. Let's go to the dead people. Quarter 3 of the show is upon us, folks. Quarter 3 of the show. Let's talk about people who died on this day. Let's look at their life resume and decide if they're in heaven or hell. First and foremost, Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie died on this day in 1955. Dale Carnegie was an American author, educator, flim flam man. Yeah, flim flam man. Who is Dale Carnegie? Ugh. Every bad person you have ever crossed paths with in your life has read Dale Carnegie's How to Make Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie, every crooked salesperson that has walked the earth in the last 70 years has read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book, it's a nice title. The book should be called How to Manipulate and Take Money from Dumb People. That's what that book should actually be called. We could call it that. You had to call it How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it's all about how to manipulating people who you have an intellectual edge on. I've read the book. I know who this dude is. He's not as bad as there's another one out there. Dale Carnegie is bad, but so is this other guy. I can't think of his name. Anyway, Dale Carnegie. He's in hell. Because anytime you've ever dealt with a pushy sales guy, you can thank Dale Carnegie for that bullshit. Dead on this day in 1991. Preemptive. There we go. No, you will not. Preemptive. Preemptive extended. So I'm going to take a minute here on this one. Yesterday, I was talking about when certain people who are iconic to you in your life's experience, when they die, we tend to remember. We put a pin in it. We know exactly where we were. We know exactly. Was it yesterday or the day before? And it's very strange. Yesterday, the day before, the subject was George Halas. And the conversation was the passing of George Halas, founder of the Chicago Bears, Papa Bear, one of the co-founders of the NFL. George Halas Award, a big icon in the world of NFL, in the history of NFL. And that was a big deal. And I remember saying, there are just certain people who pass away and you remember exactly where you were. Now, George Halas was extra important to us because I was in Chicago and he's a Chicago icon. He's like a god in the city. He's also important nationally with his ties to the NFL, but really in the city of Chicago is the only people who cried when George Halas died. And I said I remembered where I was. And I do. I was on the phone. My friend was watching. It was on the news. And the person told me, they were like, "Oh my God, put on Channel 7. George Halas just died." It was terrible. I talked about Chris Farley, remembering that one. I talked about John Belushi, remembering that one. I think John Candy was the one where I was like, I'm not sure I remember where that was. But these deaths, these people that you care about, these deaths that affect you, people die all the time. Sometimes people die who truly affect. Matthew Perry has affected a lot of people. There are a lot, not so much me, because I was a little bit older. But man, if you were like 14, 15, 16, 17, and Friends was like your whole thing on Thursday night, yeah, Matthew Perry dying, it's going to make you cry. It's going to make you think about stuff. There's a sentimental attachment to who you were when you loved that person, when that person was relevant in your life, who you were at that time that you immediately get transported back to. And that's what the love is. It's not you loved Matthew Perry, the actor who drove a car through a house once and, had a whole bunch of stints in rehab. You loved who you were as a person in the moment when you were enjoying him as Chandler. That's what it's about. That's the sentimental attachment. So we remember these things. This is probably the biggest death of my life. And I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember where I was when I heard that. It's just all a blur. It's just all. It was on this day back in 1999 that Walter Payton died. Walter Payton, Sweetness, good old number 34, Chicago Bears. I'm not gonna go on. I'm not gonna go on. I'm not gonna the greatest, that go blah blah blah. I'm not even. You guys, whatever. I want to talk about the guy. I want to talk about why this was such a big deal and why I think I understand how it is that I don't remember when I first got the news that he was dead. And it's because we knew that he was dying. It's because what I remember about Walter, I remember two things about the passing of Walter Payton. I remember the press conference. I remember being in my car at LaGrange Road and 95th Street. We lived in an apartment around the corner, me and my first wife. was at the corner of LaGrange Road and 95th Street. And I was listening to The Score, which is a sports radio station. It was the Walter Payton Show. And he didn't do a show. It wasn't like, hey, weekdays. No, it was every Thursday during the football season at 4:00. Walter would come on The Score and talk to the boys about the Bears. It's a good get. He's the most iconic Chicago Bear. And, it'd be like, I don't know. I don't know who it would be. I'm trying to compare it to a Cowboy. Maybe like today, if every Thursday at 4 you had Roger Staubach come on and just talk about how he feels about this current team. So it was a big deal. On this particular Walter Payton hit, remember, I'm at a stoplight at 95th Street and LaGrange Road. And it's weird. It starts differently. It doesn't start with the fanfare and all that kind of stuff. It just starts with the host, Mike North and Dan Jiggets. I think it was North and Jiggets. Was it McNeil? I don't know. Don't get bogged down. But it started serious, and I was like, what's going on here? And Walter opened the thing with a statement, and this was the statement where he was talking about how he was dying, how he had been diagnosed with this thing, and oh my God. And his kid was there. I remember that. I remember seeing the video, but I remember sitting there. I remember hearing this. It was unbelievably, you guys, this guy never missed a game in his career. This man was indestructible. And here he is. He's like 39, 40. I don't even know how old he was. A young man. And he's telling us, he's telling the city of Chicago on his radio show that he's going to die. That he's been told he's going to die. And this is the first we're all hearing about it. Holy fuck. And then there was, Walter sick, Walter. So it was a whole period of time. So I do not know where I was when I first realized that he was dead. I do know where I was when I heard that. And I also remember this. I remember being at O'Hare Airport on the day that he died. I don't know what I was doing at O'Hare Airport. It's all a blur. I don't know. But I remember having a newspaper in my hand, buying a newspaper that morning, and it said, "Sweetness is gone." That's all. That's just what the headline said. Look, I'm getting like, because it's like, ugh. And I remember holding that. And it wasn't me. I knew he was dead. It was in the news. I had known much earlier, obviously, but I don't remember how. But I remember thinking, I should save this. And I probably did for like a week. And then, it got thrown out. But why was he, why did he have this connective tissue to me? I don't know. I think it's because he was the first idealized sports star of my lifetime. And by idealized, what I mean is he was everything that he seemed to be. Like, he seemed to be a really fun dude. He seemed to be really loved and respected. He was definitely the boss, but on every team he was on, he was the boss. Everybody knew there was the Bears and then there was Walter. Walter was separate and more important than everybody else. The way he carried himself, the way he carried himself in the community, the way no scandals. I mean, scandals, but stupid scandals, like the Walter Payton scandals. Like, he shot a dude once. He shot a dude because he was playing with his gun in the office of his nightclub and he was cleaning the gun. And the dude that he shot was like, "No, really, don't get Walter in trouble for this. It was a total accident." So he did stupid stuff like that. But he was awesome. And the most amazing thing is, whatever. Greatest running back of all time? I don't know. I think that Barry Sanders is a better water bug. I think that Jim Brown defined the position. I think that any list that has Walter Payton as a top 3 running back is certainly a good list. I would put him number 1, but again, I'm biased. It's my own bias. He most powerful running back of all time. I think that's Bo Jackson. Earl Campbell was also somebody who could really get it going. How about in the open field breaking free? I mean, we're talking about Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders, the water bug. We're talking Tony Dorsett, if we're going with contemporaries of Walter Payton. He wasn't that. He was number 2. He was number 2 in basically every category of the entire time that he played football. He was the second fastest. He was the second most powerful. He was the second most elusive. He was the second, all of these things. And all of those seconds, when combined, in my opinion, make him number 1. He also threw 15 touchdown passes. But the most amazing thing about this indestructible man who died on this day in 1992, the most amazing thing about Walter Payton is that during a time when his team sucked, with the exception of 84, 85, and 86. 84, 85, and 86, the Bears had good teams, championship, postseason, Super Bowl teams. 84, 85, 86, that was it. All the other seasons, the team was garbage. The team was absolute garbage. And Walter Payton, it was Payton right, Payton left, Payton up the middle, punter, punt. That was it. That was the Chicago Bears for 10 years. So here's the amazing thing. Everybody knew Walter's getting the ball. Let's key on him. Every defense tried to shut this dude down, and yet he still led the league in rushing and all those things. But here's the most important thing, and I'll move on from this because he's definitely in heaven. Walter Payton missed the fourth game of his career, his rookie season. His rookie season, he missed the fourth game. They held him out. He hadn't even established himself yet as Walter Payton. So they're like, let's sit him out. He missed the fourth game of his rookie season. Walter Payton did not miss another game his entire career. Think about the availability. Oh my God, he's the GOAT of availability, if nothing else. He played injured, he played hurt, and he still ran for 100 yards a game. The guy was a monster. And again, we're not going to talk about the on-the-field stuff. Let's talk about him as an off-the-field guy. There is a reason that the most prestigious award given yearly in the NFL is named the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, because every single year that he represented the Chicago Bears and that he wore that NFL shield, he was the Man of the Year. Kids' hospitals, charities. He made it cool to be a good guy. Walter Payton died on this day in 1999. Yeah, he's in heaven. All right. The last of it is we're going to do Fred Thompson. Fred Thompson, remember him? He was an actor. He played a lot of no bullshit guys in movies. He also played bad guys from time to time. Fred Thompson was also a senator. So that means you are going to hell. Quite frankly, the fact that you were an actor probably, didn't help your cause. But we have a rule here with the heaven or hell game. Politicians all go to hell. Doesn't matter. Hard and fast. Unless you're a politician who, he saved a million, like Jimmy Carter, I think might go to heaven. I think Jimmy Carter, when he dies, I don't know, let's Google that because that could happen any minute. Jimmy Carter will probably go to heaven just based on all of the shit that he's done. So I do have a hard and fast rule about politics, but I guess we can fix that. All right, folks, let's get into all of the things that are shaping our day here. We've done quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3. Now it's time for quarter 4. These are the hot topics, current events, headlines, all the things that people are talking about. I would encourage you as well, if you enjoy this kind of talk radio, non-divisive, non-political, where we just kind of wax poetic about the day at large. Drop a little something in the tip jar. A little something goes a long way. This show is entirely funded by your kindnesses and gratuities, and we do appreciate it. We are trying to get, was it 220? Is it the number? I got it written down. We are trying to raise $220 during the course of this show between today and end of show Friday. So help out in any way you can. It would be greatly appreciated. All right, let's move into the topics of today. What are the big news? Obviously, we're going to start out with the biggest. We're going to move this to the back end, but the Rangers are going to win the World Series tonight, and we have to all be prepared for that. That's all I'm going to say about this at the start of the show. We're going to get into the Rangers at the end of the show, but the Rangers are going to win the World Series tonight. You have to get right with that, and you have to be comfortable. You have to manifest that. We have to actually believe it. I don't want to hear from any of these people who are like, well, even if they don't win tonight, then we'll come back. Shut up. They're going to win tonight. And maybe we go to the airport. Because I'm telling you, if they're flying into Love Field, I'm going to walk right on over there. We're going to go over there. We will go there. Although I got a bit of a car issue for the next day or two, so I may not. It's not a mechanical issue. I know. I was just talking about how great my car is. It's the end of the month. I'm waiting on a registration for the new car. So my point is this: Love Field is right here. Maybe we go meet the team at Love Field, huh? Maybe one of you guys swing by, you pick me up, so I don't have to drive my car with the out-of-state plates that are expired for the next day or two. Which I'm planning on not doing. Which could be a big problem getting to my kid's game tomorrow. I don't know. I'm going to have to rely on Uncle Lee. I'm hoping Uncle Lee wants to go to the game tomorrow. If he doesn't, I'm like, good, because you got to drive. I'll buy the tickets. You got to drive. It's not going to be a problem, though. I did all my shopping. I did all my shopping. I got everything I need for the next 3 days. I really don't have to leave the house for 3 days. I can work here. I can stream here. I can do all that stuff. But if the Rangers win a World Series tonight, look, off the table if they're flying in the DFW. But if the Rangers are flying into Love Field, Well, that's just convenient enough for me to want to lift a finger. All right, but remember, Rangers are going to win the World Series tonight. More on that coming. Dude, there was no benefit to negativity. There is none. This worry, all this worry, this anxiety that we have, some of you have it way more than I do. This anxiety, manifest that into positivity. It's not bullshit, you guys. It's not bullshit. See it. What is that thing? Visualize it, see it, make it your mantra, and it will happen. Rangers going to win the World Series tonight. All right. What else do we have? Israel. Let's talk a little bit about Israel. Gaza refugee camp has been bombed now for the second day in a row. Many casualties. The Israelis are going, well, yeah, maybe Hamas shouldn't be based there. Makes sense to me. You know, it is war. I don't know you. I mean, what are you supposed to do if your mission is to root out the heads of Hamas, the operations apparatus that controls Hamas? What are you to do when that is your goal and Hamas is actively embedding themselves with a civilian population? Well, you have to be surgical, right? That's where special forces teams come in, where you got to drop people in there at great loss of life to you and your side. Or you can just drop missiles from, 20,000 feet in the sky and you can just let God sort them out, as the t-shirt says. So that's what's happening. So Israel has decided to kill them all and let God sort them out. And a lot of people have a problem with that. A lot of people don't have a problem with that. I think war is terrible. And that's what I'm going to say about it. War is terrible. But man, I keep seeing those videos of that rave in the desert there and just outside Gaza and those people and what happened to them. And then hearing the stories about all of the little townships and settlements that were just so, I'm sorry for the refugees. I'm sorry that the innocent people of Gaza again are going through this. But I know the history, and I know about the elections that were held, and I know about the choice that the people of Gaza were given 11 years ago now. The choice the people of Gaza 11 years ago were given were vote for the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, and their plan to attain the goals of the Palestinian people through political means and diplomacy. That's what the Palestinian Authority did. The Palestinian Authority won their elections in the West Bank. So the Palestinian Authority is over there in the West Bank. They are not in Gaza because the people of Gaza didn't want that. The people of Gaza instead voted for the Hamas party. The Hamas party says Israel needs to be wiped off the face of the earth. This was 11 years ago. These people, they held an election. We gave them democracy, and guess what they voted for? They voted for something that is now getting their refugee camps bombed by Israelis who don't like that the people in charge over there, their mantra is Israel must be wiped off the face of the earth. You can kind of understand why they don't like that, right? So yes, here I sit on November the 1st, 2023, and my heart bleeds for the innocent people of Gaza. My heart bleeds for the Palestinian people. But you know what? If after your fellow citizens of Gaza 11 years ago kicked out the Palestinian Authority and their bullshit plan for diplomacy, and you didn't move, if after those elections you're still in Gaza and you're like, well, okay, I can live under this kind of government, you didn't move? You didn't, well, that's hard to say. No, I mean, well, it's hard to say just pick up and move. They're in Gaza. They're in Gaza. Where are they going to move to that is going to be worse than the living conditions in Gaza? So, life is complicated. These things are complicated. And the end result is, and the only thing I can stand firmly on is the idea that war is hell. And these things happen. And Israel didn't start this war. Israel was attacked. And once you're attacked, you fight until you feel you've received your pound of flesh. And that's what's happening right now. All right, that's why Israel is trending. Here, let me read. There's some Israeli headlines. Let me see. What are the new Israeli headlines? I'll just rattle them off. Hamas official is going on TV in Lebanon, okay? And he said, we will repeat October 7th again and again. So don't tell me about refugee camps, okay? The guy who's in charge isn't calling for peace talks. The guy who's in charge, who's going on TV, who is messaging for Hamas to the world, because I'm sitting here in Highland Park, Texas, reading his message. So obviously his message is going out to the world. His message to the world is, we are going to do what we did on the 7th of October again and again and again. I mean, you would think at this point, if Hamas was really concerned about the citizens, Hamas might go, look, that was a break-off branch. We're going to control that. Let us get with our people. Let's see what we can do. We are terribly sorry about what they're not doing that. They're just like, no, this is it. This is the war to end all wars. So be it. Just, I don't understand what, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm stupid. Here's why I don't understand. I'm stupid and I'm not there. But I don't understand why let everybody out. Just do people not want to go? It seems like anybody who wants to get out should be allowed to get out. But we're talking about millions of people. And we're talking about all of the neighboring countries who are all for this. Yeah, we also don't like Israel because, see, all of these leaders of these neighboring countries, they remember the Arab Spring of a few years ago where Gaddafi got raped to death with a bayonet in the butt. And then so now here they are. They don't want the Bedouins and the peasants getting all, because they know that the Bedouins and the peasants all hate Israel. And even though they in their big thrones, you know, they're in Jordan or wherever they are, even though that they know that they need to deal with the Israelis and be fun. And when they're in the cocktail parties, they're all like, hey, yeah, everything's cool. Crazy how the peasants all hate each other, but we're cool because that's how it is at the top level. All of these rulers are not allowing refugees in. They're supporting Hamas and they're saying, yeah, but Egypt's not letting refugees from Gaza in. Jordan's not letting it. Lebanon, nobody's letting these people in, so they're trapped. So the only place they theoretically can go is to the places that they attacked right outside. So it's fucked. It's fucked. People are stuck there. Maybe they're not stuck. I don't know. God, it's messed up. All I know is war is hell, and this is why I don't like war. Man, I'll tell you the one thing, there's a lot of bullshit about our generation, Generation X. We dodged a bullet with the whole war thing, though. Gen X never had to go to a, we never, you know, millennials got thrown in a buzzsaw. Millennials got Afghanistan, millennials got Iraq, even Desert Storm or Desert Shield. Remember in the early 90s? I was a little too old for that. I think it was already like 23, 24. So like 18-year-olds would have done that. My generation did nothing. We were the post-generation. Well, good. I don't mean that negatively. I mean that good. I'm glad we avoided war. Good Lord. Yeah, I remember when I did 2 tours in Bosnia in 89. You know, I'm glad I don't have to do that. I'm glad my generation skated on that. Some generations don't. I'm really worried about my kid's generation. My kid's 14 years old in 4 years. 4 years, he's going to be 18. I think we're going to be in a world war. I think that when my son turns 18, thankfully, my son falls under a category that with the proper attorney, I can probably get him out of being drafted. If they do bring back a draft, I'm not letting my son be drafted. Oh, what? You're not an American? Well, look, I'll let my son be drafted if it's because I'm not going to let my son be drafted so that he could go die in Gaza fighting a war for the Israelis. All right? I'll put it that way. If California is attacked by Yugoslavia or something, then yeah, we're all going to war. Give me a gun. I'll do it too. So it's not this, but my son is the last of his line. He can't go to war. There are rules on the books. He has no brothers. There's nobody else with his last name. If the American government were to send my son to war and my son were to come back in a body bag, it'd be the end of our family name. And there's actually a rule that says that can't happen. What is it, a Sullivan law or something like that? I don't know what it is, but anyway, that's what I'm banking on. I don't want to look too far into it because I could be wrong, but right now I sleep well at night believing that the truth is he can't be drafted. I also sleep well at night knowing that there's no draft. But I also know that the minute we need one, they'll bring a draft back. You think people protesting in the streets will do stuff. We got mass killings in this country. They won't do anything about gun laws. They won't even talk about it, not even reasonably. We got all of that. You think that, a bunch of hippies, a bunch of modern hippies protesting, the draft of 2024, you think that's going to, no. You think Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to be swayed by that? Nah, she's going to vote for what's in their best interest. We're going to send a bunch of kids to war. Because remember, we all hate war when the narrative says that we have to hate war. But once that narrative changes, once you start getting Sean Hannity on TV talking about how this is about America, then suddenly everybody starts going, oh, maybe war is good, because nobody has principles. Nobody is morally anchored to anything. We're all just paper bags in a Kroger parking lot blowing in the wind. Paper bag, plastic bags. The better metaphor is a plastic bag. All right, moving on. War's got me all hyped up on the day the Rangers are going to win the World Series. What else do we have? FBI has issued terror threats. We're at the highest level of terror threats in 15 years here in this country due to, now, it's a specific terror threat because of course it is. Jewish Americans. Jewish Americans are being targeted, according to the FBI, at an alarming rate. Jewish organizations, I'll read it to you. I don't. My whole life, I've never understood the Jewish thing. First of all, it's like the most difficult group to be racist against. Why are they the most difficult? Because in this scenario, the person being racist, I'm just assuming is a white dude. Is like a white dude from European lineage, right? Like, isn't that who? Like, okay. So Jews are white people, right? How do you look like? Doesn't a Jewish person have to out themselves in order for the bigot or the racist to go? That's not the case with Asian people. It's not the case with Arab people. It's certainly not the case with black people, not the case with redheads. I mean, there are ways the people that, are typically, face racism. I never understood Jewish people. Like, how do they know how? Well, because they got big noses. That's not true. Italians have big noses. What do you mean? It's because they have big noses. That's not a thing. That's not a real thing. That's not only them. Never understood why. Here, actually, I kind of have a theory on why it is that historically and hell, even biblically, the Jewish people have always sort of been hated. I think it's because the rest of us are a bunch of losers. Take a walk with me on this. Okay, so you got the Jewish people, and they've been hated by the masses, right? Wherever they've been throughout history, people for some reason haven't liked the Jewish people. I think it's because they're achievers. Is that it? I mean, isn't it like the worst of the rest of the people who watched a Jewish person with absolutely nothing rise up to be like a big, wealthy, educated, important person? And isn't it the person, the lazy ass who's done nothing, who has no money? Isn't that the person who goes, look at them Jews? Look at them Jews. Is that it? Is it because no matter how the Jewish people have been pushed down throughout history, they've always, in whatever society they've been a part of, risen quickly to control the most important thing, influence. The Jewish people, Jewish culture in whatever country has been more influential than almost anything else. You think I'm kidding? Try and hum a song that wasn't written by a Jewish guy. I don't understand it. Why are they hated? Why are Jewish people? And I think it's because they're so resilient. I think it's because, you can marginalize a culture, a people, and you can keep them sort of sidelined, and you can enact policy and even law in some cases that will help to keep them marginalized throughout time. And it works. All around this country, hell, the world, let's go around the globe. There are ghettos. There are ghettos in every country, in every city, and there are ghettos that are occupied by a certain culture, by a certain people of a certain culture. And a lot of times these ghettos last for hundreds of years. They never change. They never get better. The Jewish people, for some reason, the Jewish people lived in ghetto. The word ghetto is a Yiddish word. The word ghetto comes from Yiddish. It's a Jewish word. There hasn't been a Jewish ghetto in 60 years. And the only reason there was a Jewish ghetto is because of the shit that Hitler did to them that forced them to all. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe if you hate Jews, you ought to take a look in the mirror and go, why am I such a fucking loser that these dudes are outproducing me generationally? Oh, your daddy was a farmer, and my daddy was a truck driver, and his granddaddy was a prisoner. Well, yeah, you're a fucking loser. These Jewish people, yeah, his grandma was in an oven in Auschwitz, and now he runs MGM. What the fuck is your excuse? Terrorist threats against the United States reached a whole new level after the Hamas attack on Israel. FBI Director Christopher Wray told Congress on Tuesday, saying the big players in terrorism have all renewed calls to attack America and its interests. He said the level of threats has heightened since Palestine. He said the level of threats has heightened since President Biden took office, though U.S. law enforcement is better prepared to deal with them now. The reality is that the terrorism threat has been elevated throughout 2023, but the ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of attacks against Americans to a whole new level. He said Al-Qaeda has issued its most specific call for attacks on the U.S. in years. Islamic State leaders have ordered followers to attack Jewish communities in America, and Hezbollah is eyeing U.S. targets in the Middle East. Iran, meanwhile, has pushed proxy attacks on U.S. military bases and Jewish interests around the world. So Christopher Wray is saying, we've got these terror attacks, but really Jewish community. We've got, America, you need to be aware. We've got some terror attacks, but probably a synagogue. I mean, that's what we're looking at here. They did nothing wrong. American Jewish people, they did nothing wrong. And yet, crazy world. Trump kids are testifying. I read an interesting story this morning about the Trump kids. They're all this New York State case where it's like they're trying to take away the Trump business. So the kids got to testify. Today we got Don Jr., the idiot. You got the babe, the idiot, and who's the other one? The other one, Eric's the idiot. Although Eric, as it turns out, isn't really the idiot. No, I'll explain that in a moment. Anyway, moving on. So the Trump kids are all going to testify. Ivanka, she's the babe. Ivanka, she's going to testify on November 8th. Trump himself is testifying on Monday. Today, we're going to get a look at Don Jr. We're going to get a look at little DJ. And then tomorrow, we're going to get Eric. One of the things that I learned about because we don't know anything about the Trump kids, right? We see them, they're up and they're on TV, they're on TV saying stupid stuff, just whatever. They're just stupid, hacky political kids. We see them but who's in charge? Like if Donald Trump died of a heart attack right now, who's the heir apparent? Who's succession? Let's talk about succession. What's going on there? Is the assumption it's Don Jr.? Not really. Don Jr. As it turns out, and here's what I read today. So I read this breakdown about the Trump children and their roles and why they're testifying and, all this stuff. And it kind of talked about, it started out with an article from the Wall Street Journal today. And it talked about a banker who took a meeting with Ivanka Trump back in 2014. I believe it was. It was a banker who took a meeting with Ivanka Trump. And he then, after the meeting, he wrote an email to the presidents of the bank or whatever, the big shooters. This is circulating in big. He wrote an email, and in the email, he said that it is absolutely clear to me that Ivanka Trump is the heir apparent to the Trump real estate empire, and it would do us well to get in blah, blah, blah. So in the financial circles, as of 2014, it was believed that Ivanka was the one who was going to take over for Donald, should something go on. Now that's believed to be Eric. Ivanka has supposedly been completely soured by her experience in the White House, even though she's $650 million wealthier now than she was. But a bad experience. Sure, the $650 million that she has now earned on her own, that's in her own bank accounts, not from daddy or not inheritance. The $650 million that the first child earned while being the first child, She keeps that. But other than that, she says terrible experience. Her and Jared, terrible experience. So she's kind of out. So they believe that Ivanka is kind of out on the family business. And why not? Did you hear? She made $650 million in the 4 years that her father was president. Okay. All right, so she's out. So she is no longer the heir apparent. And so it falls to Don Jr. Like, Don Jr., what's his deal? No, Don Jr. apparently wants politics. Don Jr. wants nothing to do with the family business. He's not even all that worried about it. Don Jr. wants to be the Prince of MAGA. He's hoping that he can keep this thing going, and we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I don't know that Don Jr. has the magnetism, has the charisma of his big old crazy pops. But ugh. All right, so that leaves Eric. That leaves the idiot. And it turns out that Eric is the guy. Eric is the guy. Eric has been the guy. Eric has been the guy since Trump ascended to the presidency 6 years ago now, who has been running the Trump organization in his stead. So there you have it. That's the Trump kid pecking order. Today we're going to hear from Don Jr., who's expected upon taking the stand to say that he doesn't remember anything. Because they're honest people, because they're not cons or anything. The Trumps are completely above board people. 39-year-old Don, well, I don't know how old he is, whatever he is. I think he's young like that. No, I think that's Eric. I think Eric's 30. 44-year-old Don Jr., who wants you to believe that he can run this country, is going to be absent-minded on the stand today, and he's not going to remember stuff. How about RFK Jr.? Let's talk about RFK Jr. in this story that's breaking today. This is crazy. And I got to tell you, I don't know that it's true because it's breaking today, but I thought it. I absolutely thought it. I went, motherfucker. I go, you people don't know. You people are sleeping on the Kennedys. You people think that, you people don't know the Kennedys. You gotta read you gotta go back to Joe. Hell, you gotta go back to the mayor of Boston, Honey Fitz, who was the maternal Kennedy, Lon Kennedy, Fitzgerald. He's the Fitzgerald in the John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Honey Fitz. Go back to him. Then go back to Joe Kennedy. These people are tricky. All right, so what's the story? So RFK Jr., who is running for president as an independent, RFK, he's a Kennedy. Oh, my God. So the thought was, he's a Kennedy. Democrats are stupid. They'll just vote for a Kennedy. And, that was the idea. So there were a lot of people that were excited about RFK Jr. coming into the race. However, that's not what has happened. And now we're like 9 months into, or 6 months, something like that into it. The problem with RFK's presence in the race is that he's stealing money. He's stealing money from Trump. People that would be donating money to Trump are donating money. Churches, anti-vax organizations. This is the issue. All of the people who are crazy anti-vax, they're a little bit pissed at Trump because he took credit for inventing the vaccine. So trying to get that right. You're anti-vax and pro-Trump. One of Trump's greatest accomplishments that he'll tell you about is how he rushed the vax through. Now, in the other breath, you're going, but the vax is designed to kill us all by the lizard people. But the guy you love rushed it through. So, that's a very difficult thing. So there's a lot of people, serious, crazy loons who are, the anti-science and, let's whatever. Those people are giving money to RFK Jr. Money that, and they would vote Trump. They're total Trump support. They're those people, but they're giving money to RFK Jr. So it's believed now that RFK Jr. may have been a plant from the very beginning, a diversion. It may have been something that the Kennedy family may have looked at and went, our idiot cousin, maybe we ought to through the back channels, because RFK Jr. was convinced. There's some points to this. RFK Jr. was convinced to run by a longtime Kennedy political operative who went to him and had a meeting and said, look, we can use this apparatus. I'm very connected. And now people are saying that operative was sent to RFK by the Kennedy family going, we can get this idiot to run. And when he runs, he's going to take all the stupid anti-vax people with him. And that's going to split the vote. That's going to hurt Trump. That's the rumor. I believe it. I believe it could be true. I don't believe the rumor is true. As it stands right now, I'm like, do I believe it could be true? Absolutely. Because that's immediately the first thing that I thought. I thought, oh man, the fucking Kennedys, man. they are getting deep into this now. They are getting involved because here's the one thing that never sat right with me. That fucking family is impenetrable. That family is thick as thieves. The shit they have been through, that family does not turn on each other. And this guy is all of a sudden breaking. He's Bobby Kennedy's son. He's Breaking Bad. Never really sat right with me. I'm like, you're telling me, because first of all, this dude married Cheryl Hines, the actress, because let's be honest, Cheryl Hines saw an opportunity to marry a Kennedy, because Cheryl Hines is a woman of the generation where marrying a Kennedy was like being a princess. Cheryl Hines married a Kennedy. You don't think she wants to go to Hyannisport on Thanksgiving? You think that she'd allow this bullshit if it meant that she was never going to get to go around and be a cool Kennedy? And no, I think this might be it. So RFK Jr. is making a whole bunch of money, and people are starting to get angry because, they're running Trump and they're going to these people, these big donors, and they're saying, hey, how about you write that check to us again? And they're going, sorry, we already wrote it to RFK Jr. Acapulco is trending. Acapulco is trending because Acapulco is the city that the world forgot because Acapulco went through some things at a time when Israel and Hamas and the speaker and, Ukraine war and World Series, nobody noticed that Acapulco basically got wiped off the face of the earth last week when Hurricane Otis went from a tropical storm to a Category 5 in the matter of 8 hours. It went from a tropical storm that people were like, yeah, we should probably cancel the baseball game tonight because it's going to rain pretty hard. It went from that to the largest hurricane ever to make landfall in Acapulco. Acapulco's wiped out. Not completely wiped out. I mean, it's not like devastated. It's not a nuclear bomb. But it took a direct hit from a Category 5 hurricane. There are no hotels open in Acapulco, and nobody is talking about it. Nobody's noticing because it's just like, look, a slower news thing. You'd have all the CNN people there standing on the beaches of Acapulco like they did with Maui. Remember Maui happened when it was Maui happened during a downtime in the summer. There wasn't a lot of other things going on to direct. So we paid attention to Maui and the fires. Nobody's paying attention to Acapulco. Acapulco has a problem now, today, a week or so after this happened. They have a problem with insane violence. There are armed militias guarding properties from bands of looters and pirates, basically, who are just going into downtown Acapulco, which has been completely abandoned while all the windows are blown out. It's supposed to be absolute mayhem in Acapulco right now. And nobody's paying attention to it. And that's probably why it's mayhem. Because nobody's paying attention. With the absence of the global media, there is no impetus on the local government to act quickly. Nobody's going, but these people need drinking water. Nobody's doing that because everybody's paying attention to everything else. So the local officials are like, how much money can we make on this rebuild? Instead of actually servicing the community. And what has happened? What has happened when nobody noticed that Acapulco got almost wiped off the map last week? What happened? Mayhem is occurring in Acapulco right now. Local government has declared a martial law where you can't be out after, a certain period of time. It's crazy. Anyway, look it up. There's some crazy pictures of, it looks like Gaza. I mean, why wouldn't it? A hurricane does the same kind of just widespread, indiscriminate damage that a bomb would do. I mean, it's what it looks like. There are dudes with guns standing on rubble. There's one picture, there's a sign, it says the Four Seasons. Do you know what the Four Seasons is? The Four Seasons Resort in Acapulco. How nice that must be. It looks like a bombed out hospital in Gaza. And there's just a dude with a gun, like an M16, like a real Mexican military gun. And he doesn't look like Mexican military. He looks just like a dude who found that gun. And he's just standing there. Acapulco. Apparently, Joe Rogan and Elon Musk sat down and they did another interview. If you remember the last time Joe Rogan and Elon Musk sat down, Elon Musk smoked weed and it became a big thing. And the Tesla stock price dumped momentarily because he's smoking weed with Joe Rogan. Well, they got together again. And apparently Musk broke really hard politically. So if you're interested in that, Musk and Joe Rogan, you can hear Musk go hard. Excuse me, trying to fight off some hiccups. Pick it up. 3:00. It's 3:00 in the afternoon, folks. It's 3:09. We are a mere 4 hours. 3:09. 3:10. What's first pitch? 7:10. We were mere 4 hours from a game that we'll all get to watch and see the baseball team that we root for win a World Series. I'm just pointing that out. Okay, so Musk and Rogan. Also, the Colorado Cavern suicide, dude, they think they got a story on this. Remember, we told you this story yesterday. This is a amusement park, an adventure park there in Colorado outside Aspen. They found a dude in the women's bathroom dressed head to toe in Kevlar with a bunch of guns and a bunch of explosives and all that kind of stuff. They found him dead. He killed himself. They went to open up on a Saturday morning and they went to clean the women's bathroom. And oh my God, look at this. We got a guy who certainly looks like he was there to do some shooting. Killed himself. And yesterday, the police revealed that someone had scrolled above where he shot himself. I don't want to kill anybody. I just wanted to go and see the caverns. But he came dressed like someone, and he had explosives, and he had all kinds. I mean, look, obviously this person is a troubled individual, and we praised him yesterday. And I'm going to keep praising this dude. He killed himself. We fall through the cracks. Everybody's got some form of mental issue. Everybody. It's just, you just don't notice. It's not that you don't notice it. I put it to you this way. Are you an asshole? That's a mental defect. Why are you an asshole? There is something going on there and you can't figure it out. And maybe you'll stop being an asshole. Anyway, that's just a very obvious and simple example. But everybody's got something. And this guy had something pretty severe. And apparently, he did what we all want him to do. As tragic as that sounds, he killed himself. He had one moment of clarity. He had one moment in all of the nonsense and the stop talking to me, I'm going to kill them all. In the midst of all of that going on, he had a moment of clarity and some voice said, kill yourself. And he did. And so we certainly need to give him credit for that. The police now believe, although they've swept his house, they've nothing. There was absolutely a 20-year-old kid. He was nothing political. No signs of being crazy. Like his parents were like, yeah, we didn't know he was crazy. He liked military and police stuff, but that's not all that outside the norm for a 20-year-old kid. But obviously there's something wrong with him, and he ended up killing himself. Wait, where's the latest? There's let me see. I thought there was an update here. That's why I linked to the story, because I thought police say armed man killed himself instead of carrying out the apparent plan to attack the amusement park. Okay, so that's what it is. The police are now saying that they do believe that it was him who wrote that on the wall. I'm not here to kill anybody. A heavily armed man killed himself rather than carry out an apparent plan to shoot up a mountaintop amusement park in Colorado. His body discovered in a bathroom next to the words scrawled on the wall, I am not a killer. Let's say his name, because in death, this son of a bitch deserves our love and appreciation. Diego Barajas Medina. Diego Medina, 20 years old. Say his name. Celebrate his name. He did what we need these people to do. We can't stop people from being crazy. We're not even trying. We can't stop crazy people from getting guns, and we're not even trying. What we have to rely on are these fucking idiots killing themselves first. And this dude did it. Thank you, Diego Medina. Let's create a whole new Mount Rushmore of assholes that didn't quite. Well, no, I'm sorry. We'll take that back. He's not an asshole. He is not an asshole. He is a troubled man who, in a moment of clarity, realized that he didn't need to destroy a whole bunch of people's lives. Not to mention the people he would kill. When I say destroy a whole bunch of people's lives, I mean the father of the little girl that gets shot in the head at the concession stand. I mean, that's what he decided in that moment of clarity not to be a part of. And God love him for it. I hope he goes to heaven. I hope he goes to heaven where they have incredible health care and he will get all the mental care he needs. We're putting this dude in heaven. Seriously, that gets you in heaven, right? I mean, so close. You got a gun in the Kevlar. What are you going to do? He's like, I'm not going to hurt anybody. Heaven. Get him in heaven. There you go. I love this story. It's honestly, it's the most twisted feel good you've ever heard. Menacing. All right. Whew, here's a little something we can get into. Let's get into this story. This story is about menacing. Now, what is menacing? Menacing is when you point a gun at somebody. Really, most common menacing can be any number of things. It's sort of a catch-all. But menacing is most commonly, you charged with someone. You point a gun at somebody. You didn't intend to shoot it. You weren't going to shoot it, but you had a gun and you went, "I'll tell you what." That's menacing. That's the common use of menacing, and that's how it's used here in this case. Man arrested for pointing a gun at a 6-year-old boy's head over a Halloween goodie bag. All right, so here's the story. I'm going to tell you this dude got charged with menacing. So he lives in a house. There's a mom and her 2 kids, 11 and 6. And the mom and the 2 kids are driving around. They got a car full of goodie bags that they're dropping off to families. They're part of a charity. Kids, impoverished kids, they get goodie bags dropped off. So the mom and the 2 kids, 11 and 6, are driving around in this neighborhood, and they're dropping off these goodie bags for these kids. They pull up to a house. 11-year-old girl runs up to the steps, drops the goodie bag on the front porch, rings the doorbell, runs back down, jumps in the car. They pull off. How nice, right? The idea is some poor kid's going to knock on the door, find a big bag of candy with a little note that says, "Hey, this is for you," whatever. That's great. They get about a half a block away, and the mother realizes that they're on the wrong street and that they have dropped the goodie bag off at the right. Yeah, you know where this is going. And that they dropped the goodie bag off at the wrong house. So the mom turns around, goes back to the house, pulls up in front of it again. And this time, instead of the 11-year-old, because it probably went down like this, "I went last time, you go." And then, probably the little boy had to go. So the 6-year-old boy gets out of the car. His job is to run up to the fence, or run up to the door, grab the goodie bag that was mistakenly left there, and bring it back to the car. He runs up on the fence. Runs up on the steps. He grabs the goodie bag. Dude swings the door open with a gun in his hand, aims the gun at the 6-year-old's head. A man has been arrested after allegedly pulling a gun on a 6-year-old and pointing it at his head over a Halloween candy. The incident occurred at approximately 7:25 over the weekend on Saturday evening in Manhasset, Long Island, when a 42-year-old mother was driving her daughter and 2 sons and nephew to a nearby residence to drop off a goodie bag. The daughter was dropping a goodie bag off at her friend's house. Nassau County Police Department said, okay, the daughter 10 and son 6 exited the vehicle and approached the house. They rang the doorbell and left a goodie bag full of candy for Halloween on the porch before returning to the vehicle. It was moments later when the woman's daughter noticed that the address they dropped the goodie bag at may have been the wrong home and told her mother. They returned to the address, and the boy, 6, exited the vehicle to retrieve the goodie bag from the porch. At this time, the front door swung open and a male stepped out of the house, pointed a black handgun at the victim's head. The Nassau County Police Department were immediately notified of the event, and the 43-year-old suspect, Michael Yiffin Wen, was arrested without incident and charged with menacing in the 2nd degree and endangering the welfare of a child. Police say that he was arraigned the next day on Sunday. So we know what happened. Now, it's interesting, menacing, because I wonder what the defense of this is going to be, because certainly on paper, this looks like bullshit. Mom and 2 little kids out there doing some nice Halloween stuff on the weekend. And then this fucking crackpot, "I got a motherfucking gun." You really? You don't look. You don't have a window. You don't have a peephole. You don't see that it's a 6-year-old kid. With that said, if you are a homeowner and you're a fucking weirdo homeowner, right? And you're allowed to be a weirdo homeowner. There's a lot of people out there who are scared of everything. The fuck's that? And they grab the gun and they go stand by the door because they want to cosplay hero at some point in their life because they're just fat loser fucks who've never done anything. They are looking for an opportunity to put a bullet in someone's fucking head. That's what this guy. However, if you are that guy, and that's fine, that's completely legal to be that guy in this country. I'm just calling out for what it is. I hear a noise in my backyard. I hear a noise in my backyard. I don't run to the arsenal. All right. You know why? Because I understand that TV and movies are TVs and movies. And you know what I've never seen in my life? I've never seen anybody murdered. I've never seen anybody. How many times have I been held up in my backyard because the squirrel made a noise and I needed my gun to make sure it wasn't one of them bad guys I've seen on TV? Stop being cowards. This fucking guy points a gun at a 6-year-old because he's scared. Now, with that said, because again, that reaction is completely legal. There's nothing wrong with that reaction. Hey, I got a gun for home protection. So here's what I imagine this guy did. This guy heard two people fucking around on his front porch Saturday evening. Now, granted, it's only 7:30. Here's a little girl, runs up, drops a bag, rings the doorbell, runs back to the car, gung, 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 probably hearing it down the steps, right? He hears this, oh, what that, right? He's a Chinese guy or whatever. Yeah, I'm going to do the voice because that's how they sound. I'm not going to imitate a Chinese immigrant, and I'm not going to have him speak like this because that's not how they sound. So he's like, oh, what's that? And then he runs, right? He runs, he looks, he doesn't see, he sees a car speeding off. He goes, oh, whatever. Maybe he didn't see the bag. Then he goes back in the house, and a couple of seconds later, he hears, okay, so he's like, oh, get gun. And he gets the gun, and he swings. My point is this. The dude's an idiot. The dude's a pussy. He's a coward. He's pointing a gun at a 6-year-old kid. He's scared shitless in his own home. That's who he is. That's all legal. That's who he is. I don't think this is illegal. I'm sorry. As terrible as it is, I don't think this guy did anything wrong. I mean, I think I'd like him to be a better person. I'd like him to be a more well-rounded, decent, calm person. But he's not. But I don't think he did anything wrong. Menacing. These are two people that came on his property twice. He didn't invite them on the property. This is why mistakes are sometimes deadly. This was a mistake. They were at the wrong house. He wasn't expecting them. They weren't supposed to be there. He heard two. He heard one. Car speed off. Well, I guess they're gone. And then a couple minutes later, he heard another. So of course he's like, God damn it, what is it? Should he have looked? Yeah. Should he have known that it was a 6-year-old before he pulled the gun and pointed it? Does that suggest that he's just indiscriminately pointing a gun at anybody? Hell, he's so indiscriminately pointing his gun, he might one day accidentally just point it at a 6-year-old. Oh, wait, that's exactly what he did this time. I don't think that's illegal. I don't know that should be illegal. Yes, he's a coward and he's kind of a pussy and he's one of these handgun tough guys with a 6-year-old kid. Get off my porch. Okay, see, I just did a Southern guy. I don't know why I did that. Here, I'm going to show you him. Show you this guy. It's Google Drive. You can't just go to it. You have to scroll. It takes forever. No, I'm sure the kid's okay, right? I mean, the child was traumatized. With all due respect, that traumatizes the child to the point where you have to worry about him over the next 30 years of his life. Nah, I had a gun pointed at my head by a police officer when I was 10, 11 years old. Fucking scared the shit out of me. Made me do everything that he said instantly. I'm not traumatized. Hell, I hadn't even thought about it till just now. I went, oh yeah, I was a little kid. I got a gun pointed to my head. Wasn't traumatized. I was fucking around by a creek. We had a creek behind our house, and I don't know, we were doing something. We were messing around. We weren't being bad kids, but we were, making noise or doing something. And so some old lady probably went, there's noise by the creek. And she called the police. And apparently the cop said that he had called out to us, but I don't think so. I don't think he did. He said he had called out and we didn't respond. So he drew his weapon and he went down into the creek. And I was the first kid he saw. I'm the fat kid. I was the fat kid just sitting on the bank of the creek. And all of a sudden this cop comes out with his gun drawn. Dude, you're in Orland Park. This is a creek behind a subdivision in the 1980s. These are kids on BMX bikes. You've got your weapon drawn. Anyway, he pointed the gun at me. And I was like, yeah. And he kept it out. Now I'm thinking he kept it out. He didn't put it away. He was, so what's going on here? And I'm like, we're trying to catch crayfish. I think that's the only thing we did down there. We caught crayfish. Once we cooked them in a coffee can and ate them. I mean, I didn't, but the other kids did. I was like, I ain't eating that. I was a fat kid, but I was a discriminating fat kid. I wasn't just going to eat. Take me to a restaurant. Those very same crayfish, take me to a restaurant, roll them in breading, deep fry them, then maybe I'll eat them. I'm not going to eat them out of a coffee can straight from the creek behind my house. I don't think so. All right. So I had a gun pointed at me as a kid, and I just realized it now. I seem to remember my mom being really angry about that. How dare he? I remember that being a big thing. And me going, these are the wars of the tough streets of Orland Park. Nice lily white suburb in the southwest side of Chicago. Okay. You want to do a cool mom story? We like cool mom stories, don't we? I know I was going to show you the guy who pulled the gun on the 6-year-old, but I've moved on from that because, stream of consciousness. This show is a multi-hour stream of consciousness. No breaks, no nothing. Just me talking. Talking. Sometimes I forget where I'm at. Like now, but not now. I remember cool mom. Let's talk about cool mom. I made a Mean Girls reference earlier. Cool. Remember whenever I think of the phrase cool mom, I always think of Amy Poehler in Mean Girls. Cause I'm the cool mom. She was like, you don't want to be the cool mom. You don't want to be the cool. I had this weird thing because I had the cool mom. Like my mom was cool in that all of my friends liked her. Like all of my friends liked my mom because like my mom wasn't a ball buster and my mom wasn't like a bitch. Like it wasn't like you making too much noise. It wasn't that thing. My mom was cool, but she wasn't permissive. Like my mom wasn't permissive. Like we weren't allowed. Like cool mom. Like for this story that I'm about to tell you. Cool mom is the mom that lets her 17-year-old have keggers every weekend and buys the beer and then hangs out at the college. That's fine. Kids start to get 18, 19. They come home for the summer. They want to have people over. That's different. 14, 15, no, you're not the cool mom at 14, 15. I'm sorry. You're just a bad person who's trying to relive their high school years. And that's what's going on here. There's another one of these situations. From time to time, we get these moms who really wish they were the cheerleader in high school again because life was so great in high school. Life was so great for everybody in high school. You know why? Because your future was a blank slate. You know why life ain't so great for people in retirement homes? Because it's all over and they've got nothing but regrets and missteps. That's it. High school, we romanticize our memories of high school unless we were traumatized. Like I romanticize high school. I jokingly say I peaked in high school. I feel like socially I peaked in high school. And there are some people as they grow, they also feel they peaked in high school. And a lot of times moms like to be the popular cool mom again. And this is a crazy story. California mom charged with hosting parties with alcohol for teens and she encouraged sexual assault among young ladies at these parties. Santa Clara, California, Dateline, Santa Clara. A woman accused of hosting parties for her teenage son and his friends in California where she encouraged them to drink and sexually assault intoxicated girls was charged Monday with more than 5 dozen felonies and misdemeanor counts. Shannon Marie O'Connor, 49. Holy shit. She is Irish trash. She is shanty Irish white trash. Shannon O'Connor, 49, was indicted by a grand jury in Santa Barbara, California, or Santa Barbara County on 63 charges, including child endangerment for furnishing alcohol to minors and aiding and abetting sexual assault. 17 alleged victims testified at the grand jury. These gutless kids. 17 oh yeah, they're victims in the courtroom. I bet they weren't victims when they were playing quarters around the family dinner table that night. All right, I get it. I know what I'm just saying. And you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is these kids, had they gotten away with it, they might not be as traumatized as they're portraying in court. It wasn't immediately clear whether O'Connor, who was ordered to remain in jail without bail, had an attorney who could speak to the charges. Prosecutors contend. So here's the story that the prosecutors brought. Here, I'm going to show you Cool Mom, right? We'll give you a look at Cool Mom because we want to see what she looks like, right? Because she's partying with 14-year-olds. She's like, how old is she? She's in her 40s or something? I don't know. All right, let's see her. Come on, Associated Press. Son of a b. Oh, we're going to decline that one. All right, here she is in the courtroom. Get a picture of Cool Mom while we show you all the stuff she did. Here she is in the courtroom. Party mom. Look at party mom. All right. Let's see if we get a better picture of her anywhere in here. No. Is that a picture? That's an advertisement. Is that a picture? No, that's nothing we need. All right, I guess that's it. I guess that's okay. So we'll just leave that up while we read the story of the party mom. All right, prosecutors contend that Shannon O'Connor staged 6 alcohol-fueled parties in 2020 at her then home in Los Gatos and other places. Other places? She got multiple homes? What is she doing? She's throwing parties? She's throwing hotel parties? Mom renting hotels? Prosecutors allege she bought beer, vodka, whiskey, and other liquor and encouraged the teens, who were mostly 14 and 15, to drink to the point of unconsciousness. She also told them to keep the gatherings a secret and on several occasions helped teens sneak out of their homes in the middle of the night to attend her parties. She was picking up kids who were sneaking up. Oh boy. Yeah, I can see why the other parents were like, okay, she ain't one of us. We need to get her. Because parents need to stick together in these situations. I know parents are the cops. Yeah, we're the cops. These are our little monsters that we created and set loose on the world. We've got to cop them. We've got to make sure that one of our little monsters doesn't do something to, screw with somebody else. Not this one. This is a bad mom. Prosecutors she also told them to keep the gathering secret at a December 2020 party. O'Connor allegedly handed a condom to a boy and then pushed him into a room with a passed out, intoxicated girl. Both were minors. Holy shit. Look at this bitch. Look at this shanty Irish trash bitch who just desperately wants to be cool among the high school kids. Let's see here. The girl was able to get away. The girl that was locked in the room. The girl was able to get away, and then she locked herself in the bathroom. Authorities said in the court filings. Oh, I think that's the girl. That might be God damn it. That might be the girl that's the linchpin. She's the one. Maybe she told somebody, and then this whole house of cards came down. During a New Year's Eve party at her home with about 5 14-year-olds. Not a big party. That's more of a get-together, right? That's just a get-together. You had a party and I wasn't invited. It was just a get-together. It wasn't a party. You'd be invited to a party. It was just a get-together. It was spontaneous. During a New Year's Eve party at her home with about 5 14-year-olds, O'Connor allegedly watched and laughed as a drunk teen was sexually battered in a bed. Oh, she's kinky. In another case, she allegedly brought a drunk teen into a bedroom at her home where he sexually assaulted an intoxicated 14-year-old girl. She seems to be like pimping this stuff. She seems to be like finding the intoxicated girl and then getting a boy and this is the second instance where this specific situation occurred. She allegedly brought a drunk teen into a bedroom at her home where he sexually assaulted an intoxicated 14-year-old girl. That girl told investigators that at another party, she was so drunk, she almost drowned in a hot tub. O'Connor was arrested in 2021. She is still in jail. Cool mom, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be the cool mom. If you even want to be the cool mom. I mean, I think it's okay. It's okay to want your child's friends to like you. Maybe you want your child's friends not to dislike you. I think that's the goal. Yeah, because I don't really care if my kids' friends like me. I don't want my kids' friends to dislike me. Like I just don't want my kids' friends to be like, yeah, how about I just don't exist? How about, like when they talk of Mason's dad, or they just be like, yeah, I met his dad. He's all right. That's fine. That's fine. That's kind of the sweet spot. That's where I want to be. I don't want to be the asshole dad. Certainly don't want to be the cool dad, the permissive dad. I don't want to be that either. I don't know. Anyway, there we are. Don't be the cool mom. Jeez. What else do we have here? Oh, how about some Britney Spears news? How about we get into some Britney Spears move? Britney Spears wants okay, so she's got her book, right? She's can I just say it right here? I'm just going to say this. I am just going to say, look, I'm sorry. I don't smell anything. I don't know anything. I just have a vibe. I just got a vibe because I've been here before, because I'm an old man and I live in this world. And I've seen these things happen before. And now I just feel like I want to call it out. Okay. So allow me to call it out. Britney Spears is going to be dead in 2 years. Within 2 years, Britney Spears is going to be dead. And you know what's going to happen when she dies? Hopefully, I'm still doing this show. Thank you for anybody who's helped tip the show today. When Britney Spears dies, we're all going to be like, what a tragedy. I was so sad. She was such a talent. She was such a talent. She was so good. Oh, and tortured. Oh, like, it'll be all that. But here we are in the middle of it. She's alive. She's spinning off this planet. She's doing all kinds of crazy shit. And we're all just entertained to no end by it, aren't we? All right. So I'm just putting it out there. 2 years from now, when Britney Spears was found dead in her house. When we hear that story, and it could be anything, I'd say within 2 years. I don't think if she makes it past 2 years, I think she might grow to be an old woman. These are a very important time. Her emancipated years. She's out there. She's trying to do stuff. She's got a book. She's got heat on her now that isn't just from her being weird on Instagram. She's got a book that's being well received. This book she's fielding offers. They want to turn it into a movie. They want to turn it into a TV series. They want to turn it into a documentary. And she's all for it. So all of these Britney things are coming. All these crazy stories, we're going to see it. But every time we see these Britney stories, and it's like, so she's a curiosity. Britney is not a relevant performing artist. Nobody, and by the way, we can, let's compare it to Kanye, right? Kanye West. Kanye West is batshit crazy too, and he very easily could be dead in the next 2 years. I could make the very same statement for Kanye West. But the difference between Kanye West and Britney Spears is that we are actually all waiting for Kanye West to go back into the studio to hear whatever this crazy shit going on in his life is going to produce. Because Kanye West is actually a genius in that way. Ain't nobody waiting to get their mind blown by the next Britney record. Britney isn't going to go into a studio and then suddenly reemerge as Tori Amos. It's just not going to happen. She's Britney. So, I look at her and I look at all this silliness that she's involved in. This is not silliness. This story, why she's trending today, is actually interesting. And if she can get a hold of her life, this could be great. This could be a way for her to reshape the narrative of what people think of her. This book, I want to read this book. At first, when the book went last week, when we were talking about, when you remember this story, the big story was Justin Timberlake got Britney Spears pregnant in 1998 and forced her to get an abortion. Like, that was the big story. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I dismissed it as a stupid book. But now we're a week later. A lot of people are like, this book is good. This book is actually really good. It's really interesting. So I'm going to read it. I actually want to read the Britney Spears book now. And again, it's going to be here. Well, it's going to be a movie. It's going to be whatever. I'm hoping. Well, I haven't read the book. I think I should read the book before I say what I hope it is, because I don't know what the material lends itself best to. Is it going to lend itself best to a 6-part Netflix drama, or some actresses portraying Britney Spears? That could be good. Some crazy documentary. I don't know. I'm a bit out on celebrity documentaries recently. Britney Spears' book has smashed sales records for a celebrity memoir, and it could soon be doing the same in a different format. Let's see. There's a bidding war in progress that has been sparked to bring her story to the screen. Her management company, CAA, man, she's still CAA. Jesus, you get signed by CAA. That's like you're guaranteed to make at least $5 million. You don't even have to work. But if CAA is like your representation, you count that right there, $5 million a year. They're rep. Yeah, you're paying them. See, but that's because they get you to work and then take a percentage. They're making some money, so they're going to put you to work. That's CAA is big. I didn't think Britney Spears was still with CAA. It seems to me that CAA would have dropped her a long time ago because they drop problem people. Well, the book is a whole new ballgame, though, I guess. Fresh starts, right? Her management company, CAA, has received Creative Artists Affiliated. I think that's what it is. Her management company, CAA, has received bids to turn it into a TV series, a feature film, and even a documentary. There have already been 2 documentaries made about Britney's life, which followed the hashtag Free Britney movement. The book covers all sorts, including her romance with Timberlake, which included a secret abortion. It has proved to be an explosive read, and she is already planning for a second book to be released next year. Because she doesn't, this is I'm going to do a second book. I'm an author now. She's not an author. You know what? You want to know? We want to know how Britney Spears. I'll tell you. You want to know how Britney Spears writes a book? I mean, do you know how ghostwriters work? What a ghostwriter. So here's how Britney Spears does. Some dude gets to go hang out with Britney Spears for like a month. Like he's just gonna live in her house for a month, and Britney's gonna do all kinds of drugs, and she's gonna be fucking crazy. And she's gonna be like, "Here's a story about me when I was 18 years old," and she's gonna tell a story, and he's just gonna sit there and he's gonna write shit down, and he's gonna just have all of this crazy material. Then he's gonna go write a book. And he's going to put it all together, and then she's going to put her name on it. My Story by Britney Spears. But it's really just going to be her in between crazy Instagram videos going, here's another story about Jimmy Kimmel, which is fine. But she's not an author. It's like, I'm going to release a second book next year. Most authors would be like, yeah, maybe in the next 3 years, I'll get another book out. Not her, not Britney. She's prolific. She's going to pound another one out. Because writing books is easy, y'all. You just get a nice little nerdy guy to sit there, and he just does everything. I'm interested in the Britney Spears story because I do believe it's going to come to a tragic end. How does that end? How show me in the history of entertainment where Britney Spears or whatever Britney Spears incarnation of the era. Show me where a Britney Spears type in history has become a 90-year-old woman. Can't do it. I mean, I'm trying to think who, Baby Billy from the Righteous Gemstones comes to mind. No, I don't know. Shirley Temple Black. Maybe she's the exception that proves the rule, right? Shirley Temple. But she was as big as Britney in her time. Shirley Temple was huge. And then she went on to have a very distinct, but she wasn't like, she wasn't erratic. Like the part of, when I say a Britney, you have to have like Britney's kind of crazy. Madonna, I guess. But look at Madonna. Oh my God, is Madonna gonna make 90? I don't know. Madonna would be the one. I'm trying to think. Was there a Britney type? I don't know. Whatever. But remember, guys, she's gonna die, and we're all gonna be like, "Oh, it's so sad." And yet, we're all just gluttons for whatever piece of Britney we can get. Here, I want to do this. Some celeb costumes. Let's look at what some celebrities went for Halloween this year. I like to do this every year because celebrities, they have infinite budgets. So they can always do really cool, and they have makeup artists and all that kind of stuff. Here's the problem, though, with me being the age that I am. I have no idea. Oh, can we make it bigger? I want to make it bigger. That's what she said. My son and I are still doing the "that's what she said" joke at every opportunity. That one worked. That was good. Can I make it bigger? That's what she said. All right, so let's look at these. These are some celeb pictures. Some Halloween costumes. All right, here we got Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion. She's a flower. She's supposed to be a flower here from like Alice in Wonderland. Who cares, right? All right, here you got, I don't know who this person is. That's Victoria Monet. Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly. Okay, this is pretty good. First of all, I thought they broke up. I thought Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly broke up, and now here they are. Look at them. They're out there doing Halloween together. I don't know what he is. Isn't he 365 days a year? Isn't he a Halloween costume? Isn't Machine Gun Kelly? Her, though. Come on. Still. I don't know what that is. What is she? What is she supposed to be here? She looks amazing. It says Machine Gun Kelly and Megan Fox debuted one of two outfits at Michael Brown's Halloween party. Here they are as characters from Death Note. I don't know. Okay, Death Note, whatever. Oh, here they are again. Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly. Oh, I don't know who. Oh, Kill Bill. She's Go-Go. Oh my God, look, Megan Kelly as Go-Go. That's awesome. Megan Kelly. Megan Fox as Go-Go. I wouldn't mind seeing Megan Kelly as Go-Go too. But Megan Fox is better. That's good. I love Go-Go from Kill Bill. My favorite character. Go-Go, the Chinese girl with the ball on the spike. I love her. Here's Halsey. I don't know what she is. Again, if it was Tuesday, March the 13th, and Halsey showed up dressed like this, I'd be like, that's Halsey. Paris Hilton is dressed as a mushroom from like Mario Karts or something like that. She's boy, man, Paris Hilton's a pretty woman. That's all I'm telling you. Oh, here she is again. Speaking of Britney, it's Paris Hilton. Now, that is, of course, the Britney Toxic video incarnation. Paris going as Britney. Look at that. Demi Lovato, Snow White. I don't play. She looks good. Cleavagey Snow White, because remember everything about Halloween. Remember, Halloween is for 3 groups of people. It's for 4 groups of people. I have added a 4th group of people. After much consideration, Halloween is also for a 4th group of people. Are you ready? Here's who Halloween is for. Fat kids, girls who are really wanting to dress sluttier than they're allowed to, and gay men. Those are the original 3. Those are the people that really get into Halloween. Gay men, girls who want to dress like sluts, and fat kids. They love Halloween. But there is a 4th group that we stumbled upon last night, and it needs to be given its credit, and I feel bad that I didn't mention it earlier. Dads of young kids. Dads of young kids are very much, and it's allowed. It is allowed. James Parker falls into this. Dads of young kids have to really get into Halloween, and it's fine. Everybody else, it's just a stupid holiday, you know? I mean, everybody else, it's just Demi Lovato, Snow White, looking good. All right, what do we got here? This is Austin Butler and Kaya Gerber. They're going as oh Jesus, Andy Warhol and Edie Sedgwick. First of all, Andy Warhol, that's fine. People can get that. That's an icon. Edie Sedgwick is not famous. Edie Sedgwick was famous for 18 months between 1969 and 1971. Nobody knows who she is other than people who are really into the New York art scene of the 1970s. Those are the only, this is a stupid costume. It's a pretentious costume. However, do we know who Kaya Gerber is? You know who this girl is? When I tell you her mom, you're going to go, oh my God. Her mom is Cindy Crawford. Yeah, that's Cindy Crawford's daughter. She looks exactly, and Elvis. That's Austin Butler from Elvis. And apparently he's dating Cindy Crawford's daughter, Kaya Gerber, in the incredibly pretentious Edie Sedgwick costume. Edie Sedgwick, by the way, aunt of Kira Sedgwick. Justin Bieber and Phineas. Of Phineas and Ferb, I'm guessing. I don't even know who they are. I don't know what they're dressed as. What's going on here? Oh, here's Cindy Crawford and Randy Gerber. Remember, we just saw Kaya Gerber, and I'm like, that's Cindy Crawford's daughter. Kaya Gerber and Austin Butler. And now here's Kaya Gerber's parents, Cindy Crawford and Randy Gerber. They are Danny and Sandy from Greece. That's a cute one for the old people. Look at the old people having fun. Victoria Justice, she went as Cher. That's pretty good. Would you believe? And she's got, I'm sure she turns around, right? It's the butt. Remember, Cher didn't have a butt. She didn't have anything on her butt back in that video. I like this one. All right. I don't know who these people, I know Kyle MacLachlan is. Kyle MacLachlan and Desiree Gruber. No idea who Desiree Gruber are. But Kyle MacLachlan, he's a pickleball zombie. I don't know. Everybody's about the pickleball, especially people Kyle MacLachlan's age. Killed Matthew Perry, don't you know? Combination pickleball and the virus, the vax, killed Matthew Perry. Not 30 years of copious amounts of drugs and alcohol, but no, it was pickleball and vaccine he got like 4 years ago or whatever. All right, so Kyle MacLachlan is a pickleball zombie, and then this chick he's with, who I don't know, Desiree Gruber, she is a rabid animal control specialist. That's okay. That's fun. See, that's fun. That's fun. That's a concept costume. It's great. You're not, it's me, it's Mario. You're not being Mario. You're not. Paris Hilton was great as Britney from the Toxic era. That was great. But no, this is fun because this is just like, I want to be she totally made it up. It's a situation that could occur. There could be a rabid animal control worker, and she just ran with it. Good for her. That's the best costume so far. Padma Lakshmi, Little Red Riding Hood. What? Oh, no. Okay. She's the big. Oh, all right. I was going to say, that's not Little Red Riding Hood. She's the big bad wolf from Little Red Riding. She looks more like Little Red Riding Hood. She looks like the offspring of Little Red Riding Hood and the big bad wolf. That's what she should have said her costume was. Chloe Bailey. Don't know who it is, but she's Batwoman. Who are these? Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos. Yeah, those people. I can't handle those people. I like Kelly Ripa because I was Team Kelly back when she was on Dance Party USA. I don't like the way she's forcing her husband on us. This Mark Consuelo guy, famous for being Kelly Ripa's husband. Oh, I know. He'll tell you, I've been in things. I did a 5-episode arc on Desperate Housewives in 2004. I know he's done things, but let's be honest. He's Mark Ripa. He's Mr. Kelly Ripa. All right, what else do we have here? So we did the celebrity costumes. You can tell we're kind of running out of time, which is fine because we're doing a maxi show. Look at us. This show has been super long, hasn't it? Do I have anything else? I don't have anything else. All right, here's how we'll end it. We got a Ranger game in a couple of hours. We got the World Series tonight, and Rangers are going to win the World Series tonight. Oh, I know. Pugs, shut up. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, James Parker wants to know if there's a show tonight. Hold on. Let's call him. Let's see. I mean, I'll hold on. Let's call James Parker, a co-host of the Radio Misfits show. 9:00. He just sent me a text. There you go. Look at my guy Byron. He knows about positive manifestation. Absolutely. Shout that shit. Oh, I'm jinxing it? Fuck you, you dummy. Go burn a witch. I'm jinxing it. Parker's not going to answer. Well, I mean, so by the time we do the Radio Misfits show, it's usually 9:00. The game, we have an idea of what's happening with the game. So I don't know. Like last night we did a show. We didn't do a show Monday, but last night we did a show. We did a show because it was 11-0 or 10-1. Or it was 11-1. I don't know, whatever it was. But I went, yeah, we're doing a show. Okay, we're going to do a show. This is fun. I don't need to pay attention to every pitch. There's not a whole lot of strategy going on now, at least not on the part of the Rangers. And I think we know the strategy of the Arizona Diamondbacks from this point forward being down 10 runs. It's just score some fucking runs so we can do the show. So we decided to do the show last night. So I feel very strongly that they're going to win tonight. I'm thinking I want to be on the air for that. I'm thinking, but again, if at 9:00, it's in like the 6th inning and it's a pitcher's duel and, we're looking at replacements and who's going to pinch hit for some, I may not want to do a show because I may be like totally into baseball head at that point, right? I might be like just completely into it. I don't know. It's so hard. I would like to do a watch party. I'd like to do a Rangers watch party, but we can't do it on the air because of the different streams and there's delays and I guess we could do a watch party insofar as I'll watch the game and you people can react and you will know maybe a second later or maybe I'll ruin it for you. God forbid my stream is like 2 seconds before yours. I'm going to ruin it for you. I don't know. But I really feel good about this. And there's absolutely no reason that you shouldn't as well. Because as I keep saying, as sports fans, and we're all sports fans in this moment, being a sports fan is a tough thing. I envy some of my friends who are not sports fans. I have grown-ass men who don't give a shit about sports. They don't have teams. They don't get, put through the emotional ringer the way we do. And why do we do it? We do it for moments like tonight. We do it for moments like the possibility of tonight. And that's why sports is so great. That's why sports watching and sports enthusiasm and sports fandom and whatever proxy that represents as a conduit to happiness for us. That's what sports are. There's nothing exciting in our lives. We do the same thing every day. We go to the same job. We drive the same way. We shop at the same stores. We eat the same food. We see the same people. But when our team is winning, that changes the dynamic. And suddenly there's like this whole different energy about stuff. Those same people seem more interesting. That drive into work is more fun because you're listening to your favorite sports show, talk about your favorite sports team, and things are good. 99.9 of your sports fan experiences are going to be disappointing. I mean, unless you're a goddamn Yankees fan from the 1940s. Yeah, I mean, for real people, for most of us. We're not all New England Patriot fans of the past 20 years who got to see our team rack up like 50 Super Bowls. We're not that. Most of us are going to be disappointed, the vast majority of our sports experience. But it's about the journey, man. I know that sounds cliche and that sounds like something that people say when they don't have anything more of worth to say. But no, it is. It really is. It's about the experience. I tell you, the thing that I am so excited about, this is something that I'm going to be able to do. I made a commitment this year. When my baseball team, when my wife, I got on board the Rangers early because I thought they looked good and I thought they were quietly putting together a team that could be real scary, and we're seeing that that's true. But I wasn't all in. Like in June, I wasn't recording Ranger games, but it became very apparent to me that my team, the Chicago White Sox, were not going to follow. The computer said the White Sox were supposed to be in the World Series this year against the Dodgers. That's what the computer picked. But of course, the White Sox fucking imploded. And round about July, I decided, I'm like, fuck this. I don't need to put myself through this. All right. We're obviously 2 years away from having a competitive team. I'm going to really focus on this team that is doing some interesting stuff. And I became a nightly Ranger game watcher. Started recording them. I would watch them. Now, granted, I watched them recorded at like midnight where you can skip through all the bullshit in the commercials. So I can get a full Ranger game in about 45 minutes. But I made that commitment and I watched all of these games. And how many times in your life can you say that you made a commitment to a team and at the end, the result is going to be where it wasn't for naught? That your investment was well spent because that investment came watching the best team in baseball. That's what we're on the precipice of here. Might it suck? Well, I'm not going to allow myself to even entertain that possibility. Might it suck? Might what happens over the next 3-4 days or God forbid, even the next couple hours, might the results suck? Sure, because life is no guarantees, but it ain't gonna because they're gonna win tonight. And just remember that. The anxiety, the stomach aches, yeah, it's unavoidable. But man, if you just embrace this and go with it, we're gonna win a World Series tonight. And just hang with me on that, folks. Hang with me on that. And there's a part in my head that wants to go, and even if we don't win it tonight, I won't even say that. I won't even say that. We're going to win it tonight. All right, guys, that's going to do it. That's the show. I got a feeling that we're going to pop on at some point tonight and do a Radio Misfits show. I know that I definitely kind of want to. And if we win, oh my God, if we win the World Series, I got about a drink and a half left of this really good whiskey that I had that I've been saving. Rangers win the World Series. We'll drink some whiskey tonight. That's what we're going to do. By we, I mean me, because there's only enough for me. There's not a lot left. All right. Thank you. Support the show if you can. That would be great. Sure would appreciate it. Top tip of the day gets to be the executive producer for tomorrow's show. As we started today's show, I believe it was 320 or 310. I got to look at the paperwork. No, 220, 210. Let's say 210. Show needs to try and raise $210 between today and the end of show Friday. Let's hope we can do that. We've never fallen short before. I have the utmost confidence in two things. We are going to reach that goal, and the Texas Rangers are going to win the World Series tonight. Bye, everybody. Love ya. See ya. Multi-answer test. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day. The best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I have got an old guitar, that is all I
a 401, I don't have their greed. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. Tomorrow is another day, the best is yet to come. I have found a different way, so baffling to some. I can smile a little now, things are going good. I always had to be on guard, that is understood. Down the road I'll travel, far from the comfort nest. I am on a never-ending quest. I am on a never-ending quest.